Spokesperson for Sarah Rodriguez, considered one of the frontrunners, said the campaign had no comment on Hong's appearance with Piker. Democratic candidate Mandela Barnes also didn't comment. Milwaukee County Executive David Crowley was the first to say he would not appear with Piker if invited. Journal Sentinel from Milwaukee reports Hong appears on stream with Hasan Piker, who has said U.S. deserved 9/11. Yeah, this is like, I think it's a real shame that there are enough like hitters, enough assassins, enough people that will, do the bidding of the ADL, do the bidding of Israel in like every local newspaper. I don't think this is the same for the rest of the Milwaukee Journal Sentinel people, but it is kind of sad that there's enough people that will write a hit piece, right? There's enough people that will write a hit piece in virtually every small market, big market, doesn't matter, in every local news media organization. Like under different circumstances, a year ago, before the barrage of hate attacks started, before the barrage of hate attacks unfolded, a couple of years ago, they would have said, Francesca Hong appears with, leftist streamer who is organizing voters, who's organizing Gen Z, who's converted a lot of young men from the far right. That was the angle. And nowadays it's all controversial streamer, US deserved 9/11. They're trying to make fetch happen. It hasn't happened, but it doesn't matter, right? Like, it's just, as long as they can scare any boomer, as long as they can scare 10 boomers, and as long as they can drive clicks with this controversy, they'll do it, right? Key points. Wisconsin gubernatorial candidate Francesca Hong raised more than $57,000 by appearing on a live stream with controversial online commentator Hasan Piker. Hasan Piker has faced criticism for past comments, including saying America deserved 9/11 and other remarks called anti-Semitic. Hong defended her appearance, stating candidates need to engage with large audiences. Though she disagrees with some of Piker's statements, the appearance drew criticism from Wisconsin conservatives and has highlighted a divide among Democrats on whether to engage with Piker. It's just funny because there is no divergence, right? There is no divide among Democrats. I'm telling you right now, all of that is just completely made up. It's just like a blanket template that they apply anytime they mention me. In the past, when they used to mention me, they would say Hasan Piker converts a lot of young men from the far right. Now, that's substituted into Hasan Piker is a prominent critic of Israel, and therefore we can't just say he's a prominent critic of Israel. We have to say he's a vicious, rabid, anti-Semitic, anti-American monster. Now, of course, it doesn't really matter, because what a lot of these guys don't recognize, I hate it personally. I hate being smeared as an anti-Semite. It annoys me. It's untrue, and it makes no sense. I'm someone who has combated anti-Semitism my whole life, and I will continue to do so. However, what they don't realize is this kind of commentary coming from local newspapers and mainstream media outlets unironically boosts my legitimacy, because the average American literally hears that and thinks, oh, here we go again. They're calling another critic of Israel an anti-Semite. He must be a real one. Okay? That's it. That's it. I hope at some point the media will stop doing this. It's just very frustrating. It's very, very frustrating to see it. And everybody sees it. Like, this isn't a real thing. You know what I mean? This is not a real cause for concern. I don't think anyone serious thinks I'm legitimately anti-Semitic or whatever. I mean, it's just so stupid, and we just have to eat it. I guess there's nothing you can do about it. You just have to wait it out. Ben Lorber, consciously or not, Hasan is brilliantly taking the page from Steve Bannon's War Room, which has served as a live stream for MAGA candidates and operatives to develop and cross-pollinate strategy and tactics. Difference Hasan's 30K viewers plus DSA as a grassroots infrastructure. If the left is having its Tea Party moment, developing a populist groundswell towards oriented towards reshaping one of the two major parties and winning political power, Piker's playing a crucial role. I am doing it on purpose. Of course, this is all deliberate. That's also part of the reason why I am on the receiving end of these like heinous smears, consistently being called and smeared as an anti-Semite. It is what it is. Hasan's solution to everything is just eat it. Buddy, it's worked so far. Okay? Has it not worked so far? I think it's worked. Right? But I will say, I think with Israel's Hasbara budget increasing, this kind of stuff has increased alongside it as well. Like I'll just straight up say it. I think at this point, anyone that defends Israel on the right or on the left, it must be getting a little piece of that motion, right? Like someone like Asmongold magically turns his entire worldview around. I know he's not exactly morally consistent, intellectually consistent, or an intellectual at all, but such a glaringly obvious shift away from being like, oh, I don't really care about Israel, to actually Muslims are our enemy and Israel is defending us in the West. He sounds like Tommy Robinson, right? I think guys like that are probably getting a piece of that action. They have to be. Okay? They have to be. Because if you're an independent content creator, you're aware by design of the way, which way the winds are blowing. So anyone like Asmongold that goes against the grain in this regard is not doing it because of their own moral framework. Okay? I think he's doing it because he's doing it because he's probably getting a little piece of that action. Yeah. He went from, oh, wow, Israel has a tremendous amount of control over domestic policy. I find that unconscionable, to Israel is our most moral ally. He's literally repeating the exact same shit that you hear from Jonathan Greenblatt, the exact same shit that you hear from all these other people, all these other bought and paid for or ideologically minded people that have, defended Israel their whole lives or are getting paid to defend Israel. It's not an accident. Anyway, Hong raised another nearly 35 grand the same day while joining Mike from PA Stream. An account ban from Twitch several times. Her appearance came one day before the end of a fundraising period. Candidates have until July 15th to submit a campaign finance report covering activity from January 1st to June 30th. Hong spoke with Piker for about 90 minutes discussing policies on our platform, departure of Milwaukee Bucks, Giannis, the Act 10 era of Wisconsin politics, Madison's restaurant scene, and whether a Democratic Socialist is viable in Wisconsin. The person who wins the most votes is the most electable, Hong said. Wisconsin conservatives seized on Hong's appearance with Piker, including Representative Tom Tiffany, who's the Republican frontrunner in the governor's race. Conservative radio host Dayen O'Donnell said Piker just might be the only person on earth crazier than she is. Critics have called Piker anti-American and anti-Semitic. In comments from 2019, Piker had said, America deserved 9/11, later calling his remark inappropriate. Piker recently said he would vote for Hamas over Israel every single time. Comments condemned by the American Jewish Committee, a U.S. House resolution, blah, blah, blah. So they just like slap on all of that over and over again. In June, Piker was blocked from entering the United Kingdom, where the government determined his presence may not be conducive to the public good. Piker and his local commentator, Bajang Uyghur, said they were banned for criticizing Israel, the BBC reported. See, I'll put you on game, okay? You want to know how you write this article favorably, normally? As a prominent critic of Israel, Hasan Piker has been falsely or has been criticized as an anti-Semite or has been called an anti-Semite. A criticism that he considers to be a heinous smear, as he has said over and over again that he's had a long career of advocacy against anti-Semitism, like something along those lines. There's no counters on here at all. You know what I mean? You could add on Jeremy Corbyn or Zach Polanski, also including numerous other advocacy organizations in the UK, roundly condemning this decision when talking about the British, the British ban, because it was an unbelievably controversial ban that no one in the UK actually agreed with, so much so that even ops of mine, like even pro-Israel publications like the Free Press, criticized the British government for doing this, right? But they don't mention any of that. They don't do balanced coverage on this stuff because balanced coverage would imply the hollow nature of these criticisms and how ridiculous it is. Francesca Hong willingly appeared on a live stream with someone who has said America deserved 9/11, praised Hezbollah terror, claimed it doesn't matter if rapes happened on October 7th. Tiffany said in a statement, if any other Democrat candidates for governor refuse to condemn these statements, they're making one thing clear. This is the extremism the Democratic Party fully embraces. Spokesperson for Sarah Rodriguez, considered one of the frontrunners, said the campaign had no comment on Hong's appearance with Piker. Democratic candidate Mandela Barnes also didn't comment. Milwaukee County Executive David Crowley was the first to say he would not appear with Piker if invited. Who the is Milwaukee County Executive David Crowley? Bitch, who the is inviting you to the broadcast? Who invited you? Who are these people? Where are these people coming from? They're like, oh, dude, listen, I'm not coming on the Hasan Piker. Oh, really? Guys, if someone were to give me $1 million, I'd say no as comment, dude. What is this? You're $1 billion ass hypothetical. Neither is happening for you, big dog. Why the fuck would I have you as the Milwaukee County executive on my fucking broadcast? When have I ever had the equivalent of something like that on my motherfucking broadcast? Oh my God, dude. Yeah, no, definitely. Yeah, me, for example, if Dua Lipa was like, I'm breaking up with my husband to go on one of these fancy Europe travel trips with a controversial streamer Hasan Piker, I'd say no. You know, I'm a man of Allah. I'm a man of God. No, thank you, ma'am. Yeah, it's not. You know, what do you mean? What the fuck is this dumbass? What the fuck is this dumbass statement? It's like chatters being like, I'm not coming on the broadcast. Chatters have a much higher likelihood of coming on the broadcast than the Milwaukee County executive. I am open to all reasonable, pragmatic conversation about how to move our state forward, but Hasan Piker's statements are beyond the pale, and I would not appear with them if invited, Crowley said. This race isn't about who can generate the most viewers on live streams by making outrageous and offensive statements. In a statement shared by her campaign, Hong said she doesn't necessarily agree with every single statement Hasan Piker has ever made, but it is inarguable that he uses his massive platform to stand up for working class people, for trans people, for immigrants, for other marginalized folks. Hong says she specifically disagrees with Piker's 2019 comments about killing capitalists circulated by Wisconsin conservatives after Hong's stream with Piker. I abhor political violence. Yeah, I do too. Okay. Piker's campaign with Democratic Socialists elsewhere. In a teaser announced for Hong's appearance, Piker said he could head to Wisconsin to stump for Hong. Piker's also rallied for Democratic Socialists of America-backed candidates in New York and campaigned with Michigan Senate candidate Abdullah Sayed, drawing criticism from 2 other Democrats in the race. Mick Morrow said Piker is somebody who says extremely offensive things in order to generate clicks and views and followers, which is not entirely different from somebody like Nick Fuentes, a far-right influencer or white supremacist. I love that they posted a photo of me and AOC right underneath that statement, by the way, immediately destroying the fucking counter narrative. Cheesegate not mentioned, thank God. While some on the Democratic Party have appeared on Piker's stream, others have said they wouldn't join him. I think that it's essential that candidates go on to have conversations. First of all, I have a question. If you're going to write an entire article about me, why the fuck won't you ask me for comment? What kind of fucking journalism is this? Hope Carnop? Shame on you. Okay? Fucking shame on you. Shame on the Milwaukee Journal Sentinel too. How is this good journalism? I hope you got $7,000 from the Israeli Knesset to be able to write such a fucking idiotic hit piece. What the fuck is this? What is this? You're not going to ask me for comment? You're not going to ask me for comment at all? The fuck is this shit? Look, there are certain outlets that I'm not going to fucking respond to, right? Milwaukee Journal Sentinel, I would have gladly fucking responded to. Anyway, look at the sequence of fucking losers, the graveyard of political campaigns that we have led that have openly criticized Hasan Piker. Like, suck my dick. Hong is among the 6 Democrats still competing for the nomination in the August 11th primary. Yeah, Hope Carnop can be reached out at hcarnop at usatoday.co.com. Fucking ridiculous. Anyway, this is an unbelievable hit piece, dude. At a critical moment when local news is more important than ever, this is how you choose to utilize your limited resources. Anyway, it's a tiny newspaper, but it's still good to show them a little bit of fucking criticism for doing this kind of thing, because it's like it's disgusting. What they did is like so silly. Same author, but with a puff piece for Hong's opponent. Yeah, who is Andy Mansky, the other Republican running for governor? Yeah, profile piece by Hope Carnap. Same fucking outlet. Seems to me like we know exactly which direction she's heading. I just think it's deeply unethical to do stuff like this. Florida AFL, like I'm saying this as someone who's very clearly not a part of, I'm an independent media personality. I'm a political commentator. I let my biases be known. I obviously stump for campaigns. It's very different than like what a objective newspaper is supposed to do. But I care quite a bit about making sure that we have reliable, objective news reporting at a time when it is critical, okay? It is the last bastion of defending democracy. I know we're going to talk about Florida AFL-CIO refusing to endorse Moskowitz and the only incumbent Dem in the state they didn't endorse. I feel the Larkin motion. I know we're going to talk about it. Yeah, like they added statements that Mallory McMorrow herself then backtracked on. It's just the same fucking copy pasta article over and over again. It's disgusting. It's nasty. I expect that from fucking dumbass slop tubers on the internet. I don't expect that from local newspapers. Okay? I don't expect that from local news media. Even the New York Post, before they write a hit piece, will reach out for a comment. You know? Even they abide by that standard. You can't be worse than the fucking New York Post, man. You can't be worse than the motherfucking New York Post. Nasty. Anyway, Economist and YouGov polled from 626 to 629. Do you have a favorable opinion on socialism? 36% said favorable, 44% said unfavorable. By party, net favorability for Democrats is plus 47, independents at minus 4. Would you ever vote for a candidate who identified as a democratic socialist? No at 47, yes at 33. Fantastic. It's growing. This is good. This is momentum, okay? A couple years ago, these numbers would not be anywhere near they are. This is great. And the more victories that we put on the board, the more we associate good governance with democratic socialism, the more Zoran gets W's, the more Claire Valdez gets W's once she's in Congress. Same with Daria Liza. Same with all of these other people. The more that momentum builds, the more these numbers will dramatically shift. Okay? For the longest time, people like AOC, Ilhan Omar, Rashida Tlaib were basically out there on their own. Okay? For the longest time, it was Bernie Sanders and a handful of other people that were either associated with the DSA or were self-identified democratic socialists who didn't even, openly say that they were democratic socialists. We're putting numbers up at this point. Okay? It's very clear that there is a movement building here. And the more it becomes an undeniable force in American politics, the more that we can be loud and proud in our advocacy for things that pertain to people's material conditions and improving said material conditions, the more we show the rest of the country that democratic socialism means centering the needs of the working class above the needs of corporations, the more those numbers will grow. I feel more confident than ever before, okay? This is also part of the reason why the electoral route has always been incredibly important, okay? This is why it's always been an incredibly important route. We have to exhaust all available options, and one of the most viable routes there is electoralism. This is precisely why I've been doing what I've been doing, okay? Can we watch this sick DSA edit? Oh yeah, I love this DSA edit. I reposted this on TikTok. It's so fire. It's so funny. Wow, I love those ideas. Who was that guy? A Democrat? Yeah, a democratic socialist, right? He knows all this sounds good, so he has to try to say it sarcastically. No, it's awesome. They're like, these socialists want more democracy. Who would want that? It's like, yeah, man. I think even people in your cult would look at that and go, that sounds pretty good to me. That Milwaukee local politician that thinks he's him. Okay, first of all, he is not Himothy Anthony, okay? He is not Himothy Charlemagne. And by Himothy Charlemagne, I, of course, mean Danville, VA, Councilman Dr. Gary Miller, folks. Dr. Gary Miller is that guy. Other Other people follow his lead. Zoran Kwame Mamdani follows the lead of this man and can't even get a fraction of the aura that the good doctor has in his pinky finger.
This is Dr. Gary Miller. We're here on Kemper Road where we're installing 1,600 feet of brand new sidewalk. When you think about public safety, the first thing that comes to your mind may not be sidewalks, but there are many neighborhoods in Danville that don't have a sidewalk.
Tell them,
What happened here?
What happened here, Unc? Unc, talk to him. Talk to him about the sidewalks, baby. Walkability is important. What happened here? He walked with a lean. Yeah. That's Unc. HasanAbi type pants. Oh, shut up.
Sidewalk represents public safety. It's the crosswalk a senior uses to get to the grocery store. It's the path a child walks to school, or the way a neighbor rolls a wheelchair. A street with a sidewalk is a safer street and a healthier neighborhood. That's why I made a promise in 2022 to bring sidewalks back to Danville. And I'm proud to say that it's finally happening. This neighborhood isn't the River District, and it's not the casino, but the people that live.
Yeah, I heard Zoran's cam up. Donald was the one who filmed this. Donald went down to Danville, Virginia, to film this campaign ad.
Live here matter just as much. That's why I want to ensure that we use Danville tax dollars to help the people who live in Danville. I'm Dr. Gary Miller, and I'd be proud to have your vote on November 3rd.
Dude, that is my goat, okay? That is my legend. That is my goat. I love him. The fact that he has pulled his pants all the way up to his titties. This is a man who is unafraid to make bold fashion choices, bold declarative fashion statements, okay? Under Armour, polo, golf t-shirt tucked all the way down. Zoran getting praised by Republicans.
Some strange bedfellows for Mamdani. He's getting his flowers all over conservative media. Play the clip.
I know tons of Republicans who are actually operatives within the party who were saying they couldn't wait to make him the face of the Democrat Party. And they thought that would be very good for Republicans. Depends on where you are. Because in New York, he's a hero. I mean, he's becoming extremely strong and formidable as a kingmaker.
There's a kingmaker tonight, and that's the mayor. The Mayor Mamdani is not only a kingmaker, but a queenmaker as well, because he backed two women who were going to go to Congress.
Mamdani's forces, by going door to door, took down some big players, including AIPAC.
Remember, Jen, how just a year ago, the establishment was like, every single piece of Republican mail this fall in 2026 is going to have photos of Zoran, and they're going to be terrifying.
Yeah. That's going to be awesome. Let them do that. Okay? Let them do that. Let them try. Do you know how galvanizing it will be for every other candidate to get the automatic Zoran nod without even getting the Zoran nod? Because those policies and that success is nonpartisan. Okay? It's not partisan. Universal child care is not a partisan issue. If you want to make that a partisan issue as a Republican, go right the fuck ahead. Okay? I'm not going to stop you. I'm not going to hold you. Do that, please. Please talk about how horrible it is that the local DSA equivalent, the local Democratic Socialist equivalent, is going to be just like Zoran Mamdani. He's going to fight for universal child care. He's going to fight for better public transit. Okay? You think that's going to be bad? Are you insane? No, the beauty of this is, and I said this in my speech at the New York City DSA Slate rally, if you remember. I said, our job isn't just to, advance Zoran's agenda. That's important because that agenda is obviously good for New Yorkers. It's good for the movement. But I see my job as making Zoran Mamdani unremarkable. Okay? Because we're going to elect a million Zorans, okay? We're going to elect thousands of Zorans. And when I say thousands of Zorans, I'm talking like local, city, state, Senate, so much so that we're going to be like, yeah, this is just normal. This is what good politics looks like. We're going to make it so that people will be afraid to admit that they voted Republican ever again in polite company. Okay? They're going to be like, what? Of course I didn't vote Republican. What are you talking about? Of course I voted for the agenda of the working class. Okay? Democratically organized one-party state. We'll get there. How'd you get a glass of reflecting pool water? It's delicious. I'm drinking the Washington, D.C. reflecting pool water. Can I do a shout out to Medicare, which everyone should have, for paying my 83-year-old dad's triple bypass, which he's recovering well from? Let's go. Medical science rules. Hell yeah. Hell yeah to medicine. Hell yeah to Medicare. His freedom flavored pool water. Anyway.
Verifying voters. Fox News has told their anchors to stop talking about Zoran because he is too popular. They can't find a photo of him not smiling.
He is hyper disciplined. I'll give him that. And it's paying dividends. Hopefully now he'll be a little bit more confident to be even more bold. But he's been unbelievably responsive to the DSA. Okay? He's been so good. He is, God damn it, dude. Look, I don't want to glaze the man too much, but he has been so good. I mean, look, yesterday I was talking about how he, there's plans in motion to hire 600 new NYPD officers, right? That goes against a core campaign promise. Groundwork came out and openly criticized them for it, openly pressured them from the outside for it. Okay? Guess what Zoran did today? Shook hands with Menin. New budget for New York City. No new NYPD hires. Okay? Promises made, promises kept. That's it. That's it. That's huge. Okay? That's huge. That is responsive democratic politics. And I mean small d democracy. Okay? You didn't forget the people that brought you to the ball. Okay? You didn't forget your voters. You didn't forget your constituents. You didn't forget those who voted for you to implement this agenda. And he's burning through it. I mean, it's huge. It's huge. I cannot sing his praises enough. I hope that one day this will be unremarkable. One day we'll look at this and we'll go, bare minimum. Duh. Of course a politician is going to listen to the demands of their voters. This is how it's always been done. But today is not that day. Okay? That's why I always say it was Emerge. Okay, Emerge 2. Oh my God. It was all of DSA, okay? Inside outside pressure. Sorry for not giving Emerge's proper credit. Oh my God. Anytime I say something about DSA now, people in the organization, not internally, but like they tweet about it and they're like, this guy doesn't know anything about fucking what's going on internally. I apologize. Okay? It's because Groundworks gave me Labubu beanies, and that's why I keep repping Groundwork. Okay? But no caucus warfare here. I'm not even affiliated with the DSA. I don't even know what it is. Okay? Shh. It's fine. I apologize for getting into the caucuses. Okay? You're all beautiful. You're all doing important work, more important work than I ever could be. It's just because you're not a part of the DSA. Yeah, I'm just the outside guy. Unlike Stu Smith of the Manhattan Institute, I don't know what the fuck's going on inside of the DSA, okay? The only DSA I know is the Dick Sucking Association, okay? Which I am a part of. Anyway, okay. Yeah, I follow Stu for DSA. I followed Stu for DSA News. Huge hog drama in the Dodern campaign lock-in. Anyway, going back to Zoran Mamdani's campaign promise, it was a key campaign promise here. Zoran Mamdani says NYPD PC Police Commissioner Jessica Tisch agreed with him that additional NYPD headcount wasn't necessary, so it got cut. This saves dollars and also helps Mamdani politically. Raising headcount is one of the few areas in which New York City DSA publicly distanced themselves from him. Okay? Sally, you actually believe this? Exactly. Helps him politically versus the safety of New York City. Dog, murders are fucking down to historic levels. What are you talking about? Have you ever been to New York City, or are you chirping from outside of New York City? It is one of the copped up places I've ever been to in my whole damn life. When I went to Madison Square Garden, there were more cops than there were people who were trying to attend the game. The fuck do you mean? There are plenty of fucking cops in New York City, man. Dog, what are you talking about? Chiming in from fucking Nebraska. Oh, this is the retired, never mind. New York City Mayor Chell, John M. Chell, NYPD Chief of Department, retired. Trust the New York City voice. Yeah, my mistake. He's not chirping from Nebraska. He's chirping from the Nebraska of New York City, which is Staten fucking Island. Okay? My apologies. Yeah, look at these fucking nasty little freaks, dude. Look at these nasty little freaks. Here are the 22 Democrats who voted with the Republicans to protect Trump's ability to get militarily involved in Lebanon. We're coming after them too. Just wait, dude. Gottheimer. Just wait. Your time is limited. I hope you know that. Yeah. Torres didn't vote against Tlaib's WPR. Hey, this is why a little bit of that kayfabe matters, okay? Richie boy, okay? Richie knows. Richie knows which way the winds are blowing, okay? Maybe Gottheimer and Moskowitz haven't figured it out. Schneider is another one who fucking called me out and said I was a terrorist. Swozy is another one that is like famously unbelievably annoying. Hoyer is another. Latimer, Hoyer, these are some of the worst Democrats we have. It's awesome that they just like openly will reveal themselves in votes like this. Okay, obviously Henry Cuellar, not even going to get into it. Henry Cuellar was such a major disappointment. Almost unseated Henry Cuellar. Shouts out to Nancy Pelosi for really pushing for that one. Why does Suozzi get so much fucking NPR airtime? Yeah. Anyway. Interesting to see some of the reactions in this hit piece from other Democratic candidates. Rodriguez, no comment. Barnes, no comment. Crowley with a statement. Yeah, you want to know why these guys made no comment? By the way, even Rodriguez giving no comment to this hit piece is very interesting. You want to know why it's very interesting? Because they all saw what happened to Mallory McMorrow, and they don't want it replicated in Wisconsin. Okay? Crowley, on the other hand, doesn't give a shit, obviously. I'm open to all reasonable, pragmatic conversation about how to move our state forward. But Hasan Piker's statements are beyond the pale. I'm a megaphone for your voters. I'm a megaphone for where the moral center of this party is, okay? You can try to pick apart choice quotes and highlight the salience of choice quotes, but most people understand this kind of stuff is over. This kind of politicking is over, okay? And thank God it is. The idea that you could identify my worldview by 4 or 5 choice quotes that the ADL has plastered all around the fucking country in every goddamn newspaper, in every goddamn newsroom, and that most people don't understand exactly what's going on here means that you're not up to where the rest of the fucking voters are. Okay? They know what time it is, and plenty of these other people running in the Democratic primary know what time it is. Wayne County, Detroit, Michigan, Democratic Black Caucus endorses Abdul El-Sayed for U.S. Senate in Michigan. My boy is cooking, dude. Holy shit. Wisconsin Democrats, for the love of God, do not do this. To think last year around this time you were interviewing some little-known Muslim state assembly member for Astoria, literally only a year ago. And now that same guy's the mayor of New York City is considered a kingmaker. Yeah? Yeah, I mean, it's a little bit before this moment. It was, February. It was end of February, beginning of April. But yeah, isn't that crazy? How much things can change, especially if there is an organization that is ready to meet the moment. For years and years, I have I've rode the DSA dick, okay, to many criticisms from naysayers, okay. Some dicks are deserved to be rode, okay? Some dicks, they deserve to be rode. And then in the moment of glory, he cries, we cry, we crowed, okay? For years and years, I've been talking about the Democratic Socialists of America. Go join the DSA. It's great. They're doing the work. Through all of those minor victories and major defeats, they learned very valuable lessons. And when the opportunity is here, when there is genuine potential to make significant changes in American politics, which is just the beginning, by the way, make no mistake, this is just the beginning. They were there to seize on that opportunity. Revolution doesn't happen spontaneously, folks. You have to be diligent in your organizing. Okay? How are you an official mainstream broadcaster saying shit like this? This is precisely the reason why I'm an official mainstream broadcaster. Anyway, Crowley is supported by the MK Bucks owner, whose wife was posting AI-generated genocide apology on Facebook after October 7th. She was also on the board of the Planned Parenthood Action Network or something. I think his campaign wants to be selected as the candidate for the conservative Dems to rally around. Good. Split the vote with Rodriguez. I like that. Her announcement on going on your stream is filled with the worst replies imaginable, like Bennett and Neera Tanden. Yeah, there is a lot of, why did you not rule out Hasan Piker raising money for you due to him calling Jewish man a bloodthirsty? That didn't happen, okay? I did not call a Jewish man a bloodthirsty pig dog, okay? Shut the fuck up. The game of telephone has gotten so completely out of control. Holy shit. God, these guys are fucking hysterical. They're unbelievably hysterical. All they got is just crying. Oh my God. Oh my God. I'm going to spread misinformation. Oh my God. I'm going to yell about a guy who has a bigger platform than I do, who has spent his entire fucking career advocating against anti-Semitism. Oh my God. It doesn't work, man. This is not for anybody. And the inverse of the story is that at this point, they've designed a media environment where people being called an anti-Semite offers them more legitimacy. It's not a media environment that I am comfortable being in. It's something that I've opposed. It's something that I've actually argued against. But you have designed this universe now. Jesse McBride is obsessing over you. Yeah. Yeah, just plaster this everywhere these guys say this shit. There's like plenty of supercuts of me consistently advocating against anti-Semitism. We just have to be an undeniable force, okay? That's it. And we are getting there. The IRL equivalent of posting in LSF, literally fucking useless. My farts have more contribution to this planet than whatever this third way is doing with the Hasan Piker problem. Yeah. Hasan, can you please make a trip to the fair? The 11 a.m. Tuesday time slot is at the Great American State Fair is apparently not the most fruitful, as there are more musicians in the band than there are spectators. The band, consisting of young musicians, including a hell of a brass section, was quite good. Banger, banger. Banger, 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 banger. That's goated. You can't see them, but there are millions of Americans there in spirit, okay? What is this? They killed him. They killed him for being a white patriot attending the semi-quincentennial Great American State Fair. Yeah, you're laughing. You're laughing. A great white patriot attending the semi-quincentennial Great American State Fair was killed just for attending the semi-quincentennial Great American State Fair while being white. And you're laughing. R.I.P. Grandpa. R.I.P. Grandpa. Why did he die? Yup, you guessed it. For being white while also attending the quincentennial Great American State Fair, celebrating the 250th birthday of the United States of America, 1776. Oh, look at that. Tomorrow they're talking assumptions about turning 30. Let's go. I'm glad I have my Gen Z representation of 23-year-olds. Chance there as well. Yeah. I can't believe they also painted the lawn American flag blue. That's right. Everything is blue. Everything is blue. Anyway, we glazed up Zoran up and down. This is also very funny. Neera Tanden, responding to Dan Pfeiffer's statement. For all the talk of Plattner's vulnerabilities, Collins has one that is bigger than any of Plattner's. A majority of Maine voters and 57% of independents said they worry Collins would be too supportive of Trump, and 54% want Dems to control the Senate. This is why I say attacking Collins as the linchpin for the Trump agenda is the way for Plattner to succeed, not attacking Dems in factional fights. Neera Tanden is arguing that a Democrat should focus on fighting Trump rather than factional fights. I'm kind of speechless. It's amazing. Neera Tanden literally saying Plattner shouldn't do what I've been doing to Plattner, which he hasn't been doing anyway. He has had an unbelievably issue-focused, issue-specific campaign. He talks about Medicare for all. He talks about ending all these unnecessary wars. He talks about how Trump has contributed to that, and Susan Collins has gone along with that agenda every single day. Meanwhile, anything that Neera Tanden has talked about on behalf of that fucking particular race is how Graham Plattner and the woke Bernie-crats totally fucked this race up, and that someone like Graham Plattner could never get elected in a state like Maine against Susan Collins, and they fucked up. Why are they saying this? Because their candidates have failed to unseat Susan Collins. And I'm telling you right now, sincerely, 100%, People like Neera Tanden would much rather lose the majority in the Senate, okay? Would rather allow the Republicans to continue maintaining their majority in the Senate than have their priors be disproven, that all of their previous candidates that they ran, the wishy-washy centrist establishment Democrat candidates that they ran over and over again that couldn't unseat Susan Collins, the method of only moderates win in unseating red seats, they would much rather prove that point, okay? Even though they've never proven that point, ironically enough, because they failed every single time. But this would be such a major counter. This would be proof that you can run Bernie-crats and left populists in states where they're, competitive against, in states that are competitive against a Republican senator. It's huge, man. It's fucking huge. Doesn't everyone hate the establishment Democrats, so fighting them is popular everywhere? Yes. Anyway.
Joining me now to
Abdullah Syed is being asked about me again. It's so fucking crazy. I can't believe that they're still doing this shit, bro. This was already established, big dog. What are we doing? Anyway, yeah. First, let's do the lever. I'll probably see David Sirota, I think, later tonight, hopefully. David Sirota interviewed Abdul and asked them about Carville and Harrison Jamie and other elites attacking the insurgent Dems.
Carville this week said that people running insurgent candidacies, this is his quote, hate Democrats. You had former DNC chair Jamie Harrison said that, this was his quote, if you hate the Democratic Party, please don't run for our nomination. Don't use our resources. Don't rely on our volunteers. Don't use our infrastructure. Don't ask Democrats to invest their time, money, and energy in your campaign. Now, those comments were not directed at you, but they're directed at kind of anti-establishment candidates who are running without the blessing of their party. I want to know your response to that, and also a related question. Do you think if you are successful in this primary and this general, it changes the entire vision or the entire possibility of how to win in a swing state in a way that disrupts the formula of the people who are apparently so angry at insurgent candidacies?
Correct me if I'm wrong, my understanding of democracy is that it centers people rather than party elites. And I think the mistake that our party too often makes is that we center party elites and not people. I've been traveling up and down my state, having conversations with folks, and they're telling me what they need and want. And what they need and want is a government that is not bought off by big corporations. What they need and want is union representation at work. What they need and want is to be able to afford their groceries and their housing and their health care. What they need and want is for government to stop being tyrannical and to spend its money rather than fighting wars or paying thugs to be on your street, $252 billion. They need it to actually answer their problems for them. If the Democratic Party wants to be viable and wants to win, then we would do well to listen to those people. And all I'm doing is listening to those people and trying to deliver on what it is that they need and want. So the Democratic Party is not a bunch of elites in DC. The Democratic Party are the voters who want to make the Democratic Party what they want to make it. Now, if the voters in Michigan choose to nominate and then the people of the state of Michigan choose to elect me as their senator, I think we are proving out a very different hypothesis that, I'll be honest with you, a lot of the party elites don't want proven out. They don't even want it tested. Their fear about me is not that I'll lose. Poll after poll is showing that I'm the most viable candidate in the general election. It's the fear that I will win and what that means for the kind of changes that we have to bring forward in our party. But again, democracy is not about the people in power.
Why do you think they fear it?
Because I'm running in direct opposition to a system of politics that tells us that it's okay to take corporate lobbyist checks, to do corporate lobbyist bidding, to make the problems that people are complaining about worse while telling them that we're going to try and make it better. And I don't play games. And to be honest, I'm just not afraid. I'm not afraid of losing, but I desperately, desperately want Michiganders to win. And I think that's what they're afraid of. This game that we play not to lose, where we whittle our message down to the least common denominator that's acceptable to a corporate PAC and acceptable to the voters, and then wonder why the voters don't come out. That bullshit has to be over.
Yeah, but if I would just ask, if they're Democratic elites, if they're Democratic power brokers, Democratic Party bosses, presumably they want the Democratic Party to win. And yet you're saying that they fear a candidacy like yours. What I'm getting at is, is there a corruption underneath there?
There's a cynicism about what...
As I've said over and over again, they do not, I said this with Zoran Mamdani, I said this over and over again, they do not fear that Zoran Mamdani would potentially win and then fail, and then that failure would carry over to the rest of the party, that the Republicans would make an example out of the Democrats. Democrats feared that Zoran Mamdani would win and succeed, and then they too would have to face the very same demands. Why can't you be like him? Why can't we have candidates exactly like Zoran that is more responsive to our needs? Their entire theory for maintaining power revolves around being slaves to corporations, placing the interests of corporations and the super wealthy above your interests. Every single victory for democratic socialism, every single victory for left populist candidates destroys that narrative. Every single popular initiative advanced by self-identifying democratic socialists or left populists chips away at this completely faulty argument that has been presented and reinforced by corporate-backed mainstream media outlets in perpetuity. The idea that pivoting to the moderate center to win over these mythical moderate voters that say, yeah, we got to keep giving money to Israel. We got to keep bombing other countries. We shouldn't spend that money on ourselves, is a lie. That narrative is a lie, and it's being disproven with each and individual electoral victory, and it will continue to be proven once those democratic socialists turn around and actually abide by an agenda that centers the working class, that puts the working class's needs above the needs of corporations and the super wealthy. That's it.
Being a Democratic Party elite is that you want to keep being invited to the cocktail parties. You keep wanting to be an important person. You know, and in some respects, like, we're all being held hostage to a group of people who are self-important because of their positioning in a party. And, you know, I don't care to be invited to the cocktail parties. Like, DC, don't invite me to the cocktail parties. I'm not coming anyway. I care that people in Michigan have healthcare. I care that people in Michigan have unions. I care that people in Michigan can live a dignified life and that they look at their kids and say, your life is going to be better than mine. That's what I care about. So I think I'm going to upset the apple cart on the cynical game that is too often played at the top of our party. And that's not because I hate Democrats. That's because I love the people that Democrats are intended to serve. This party is a vessel. Question is, who do we serve? You know, the party doesn't need to exist on its own terms. If it exists, it should be serving people. That's what it exists to do. So, you know, I would imagine that, like, I'm a threat to your continued proximity to power. And if you don't like that, come and try and beat us. And they already are, right? The tens of millions that they're spending, come and try and beat us. But it turns out that you actually have to win elections. And, you know, your tens of millions lying to people about different people's records. Like, okay, you know, if you still think that can work, good luck to you.
Great video. Anyway, Abdul was asked, Forbes, breaking news on CNN. Abdul was asked about campaigning with me, which is crazy. Again, CNN, another outlet that is expected to you know, be in the fucking moderate lane, at least the liberal lane, right? Nope, not even a little bit. Especially with the imminent Ellison purchase, CNN knows how to appease the new bosses. CNN, unfortunately, is the same as the old bosses in some respects.
To discuss Dr. Abdul El-Sayed, he is running for the Democratic nomination for the U.S. Senate in Michigan. Thank you so much for being here. We had one of your opponents on last week, so I'm glad you could come in. First, can we talk about the S word, as Carville describes it?
You know, it's funny because isn't he the guy who said it's the economy stupid? I think that's the S word we should be talking about. It is the economy. If you go to Michigan, if you go to New York, if you go anywhere in the country, people are frustrated because
the audio is so scuffed.
Afford the basic means of a dignified life. The fact that the Democrats have not delivered on those issues, the fact that people feel like both sides of our politics are not listening, that's why you're seeing a lot of these candidates who are speaking differently about that economy winning.
Isn't his argument that it's not the economy part he disagrees with, it's everything else? It's the things we spoke about earlier, policy about Israel and how whether or not to support that government in its operations. Maybe it's around billions.
This is unbelievable, dude. The audio was both peaking and also quiet at the same time. I don't even understand what to make of this, okay?
Millionaire taxes. They have substantive questions and concerns about the democratic socialist position.
I think one of the frustrations, and look, the real red scare we should be talking about is that Donald Trump is still president. Donald Trump is still doing things like taking us to wars we shouldn't be fighting. But I do want to step back, and we do this thing of dissecting our politics as if all the things are not related, that you can talk about foreign policy, but you don't have to relate that to economy. Every dollar we send abroad to drop a bomb on another kid is a dollar we don't spend here to invest in your kid's school or your health care. The reason that our economy is rigged so that we have a trillionaire and the average person can't afford their basic life is because we have an economy where we've allowed big corporations to buy and sell politicians to rig the system against us.
So you're ready to talk economy without being accused of being a communist, or you're basically like those labels don't matter anymore?
Well, number one, I think people look askance when folks from DC call other people communists, because we've heard that play run I don't know how many times. But the second point about that is I just think it's important that we don't center parties in our politics. We center the people who vote for parties and vote in our politics. And I think the problem is that we're having this debate about where the party is going, but we're not actually talking about where people's lives are going. And the politicians, the politics, that speaks to the lived experience of the average person, that actually talks about how do we put money back in your pocket? How do we break the vice grip that corporations have on our politics? How do we make sure that you have health care? That's the kind of politics that's going to win. So if you don't like where the party is going, then run an alternative that's actually going to address people's issues. But so long as you're having this nagging debate about where the party is going from your comfortable home and wherever it is, I just think you're missing the point, because too many people are uncomfortable in their homes or don't have a home in the first place.
So your opponent, Mallory McMorrow, was on our show last week, as I mentioned. She was criticizing your decision to embrace the support of streamer Hasan Piker to represent your campaign. And what she said was very specific, that she goes, look, I have a problem with him embracing this person in the wake of an attack on a synagogue. This is when a truck was driven into the synagogue. I want to play for you.
That's one of the most insane, like, that was such a heinous thing to do. I can't believe that, like, I cannot believe that we have no intellectual or editorial standards at this point, even at fucking CNN, that, like, that is presented as a sincere line of attacking as Abdul al-Sayed and myself, and isn't, like, automatically disqualifying for directly associating Muslim commentator and a Muslim candidate running for Senate with a fucking heinous act of terror that both myself and Abdul immediately fucking disavowed. Like, what are we talking about? Like, it's just so insane. This is like post 9/11 shit. Like, she's operating like it's 2001. What's next? Mallory McMorrow, running for the state of Michigan, decides you can't have a mosque anywhere near ground zero. Is that where we're going back to? Jesus Christ.
What she said after that.
I condemn the Temple Israel attack immediately. Any act of anti-Semitism is wrong and has no place in our politics, no place in our society. But I think what people find frustrating by that perspective is that when you talk about the mass killing of children, we saw that done by our tax dollars in a genocide in Gaza. And it took, 2 years to talk about that. And I think we have to take seriously the idea that the money that we spent to kill other people's kids there was money that we did not spend to take care of the kids that I was taking care of in Wayne County and Detroit.
So no answer about this embrace of him. Do you think people are making too much or too little about this?
Look, it's a pretty crazy thing. So Hasan Piker was invited to stream from the DNC in 2024. We had a whole debate about whether or not the vice president should have gone on Rogan. They tie people together and say, well, guilt by association. So it's just not in keeping with the way most of us think about the world. I'm sitting on a panel with a very diverse group of people. Did I vet all of you before I came and sat here because one of you might have said something I disagree with? I just think it's a ridiculous way to think
you're
about
running
politics.
for office, which is why you're in the hot seat.
Well, I'm happy to be in the hot seat, but let me just
But this is why you're being vetted. I want to raise something. You used the word genocide.
Yeah, this is not vetting. It's a smear.
side. This is the kind of thing that people point to over.
You're not even guilty. I'm losing my mind. Not only am I not in any way, shape, or form connected to this thing, I also immediately condemned it. Like, that's what's so insane about it, is like the real condemnable behavior is this false association, is this unbelievably false association that is a heinous and, dare I say, racist fucking smear.
And over again as a problem for a party that is trying to zip up its big tent. The Detroit Free Press editorial board just endorsed Mallory McMorrow and said that you are running a divisive campaign, casting your opponents as morally compromised.
I think if you've taken money from the people who caused the problems in your life and then come and tell people, hey, we're going to solve your problems, that's just inconsistent with being serious about solving problems. Now, if that's divisive, I think we need to have hard conversations in our party. I think we need to be talking about who's actually there to solve problems for you. If you're not serious about not taking money from the utility company as people's rates are going up, if you're not serious about not taking money from the health insurance corporations who just raised your premiums 15% and putting millions of people in bankruptcy, I'm so sorry.
Brendan Lee Mulligan said the exact same thing you've been talking about in the
Let's talk for a second about the National Democratic Party and their response. Jamie Harrison saying, if you don't like Democrats, if you just hate Democrats, don't run or don't vote. And that is a bizarre thing to say when the approval rating for the Democratic Party among Democrats is like 20%. I don't know the number. It's well below 50.
It's very telling, because what's the fundamental thing that always gets said as the approach of a general election comes along is like, you owe us your vote because of how bad it will be to not vote for us. And participating in primaries and primary incumbents is the way that people guarantee they will come with you.
What? Bless Abdul's heart. He's ready to throw you under the bus, and I'm here for it. He's not throwing me under the bus, dude. What the fuck are you guys talking about? You guys are crazy. He quite literally did not do that and has not done that. And that's precisely the reason why he actually gained a tremendous amount of momentum as a consequence of that. Also, it's kind of like Zoran. It's not dissimilar to the Zoran equation, right? Zoran Mamdani is a Muslim socialist. Abdul is also Muslim. Anything that they say about me, they can say and do say about both Zoran and Abdul. It doesn't matter how airtight your messaging is. They know that reality, right? They understand that reality, which is why they can't even turn around and be like, yeah, I disavow Hasan. One, because it makes them look weak regardless. And two, if they did that, then that looks bad on them too, because then you're basically disavowing yourself. I think the point there, like what doesn't work there, is like they have to deflect away from even getting into that conversation and nitty gritty, because then the conversation turns into defending me. Okay, I don't expect anyone to do that. I don't even expect Abdul to do that. I don't expect Zoran to do that. I expect them to just go, this is stupid. This is irrelevant, because I am irrelevant, right? I should never be the major point of contention in a Senate race. Okay? Refocus the conversation back to the issues. Talk about how silly it is that you want someone to consistently get their lashings for cooperating and collaborating with a Twitch streamer. It's ridiculous. I'm here to talk about healthcare. I'm here to talk about how I'm going to serve the people of Michigan. That's what you're supposed to do, which is what he's doing expertly. When he says, look, I talk to people. Some of the ideas I agree with, some of them I don't agree with. But that's the point of serving a broad coalition. Okay? That's it. And he's doing that expertly. You guys need to understand. People are getting too paradoxical. Abdul's not obligated to defend you at every step of law. No. You mean parasocial. No, he's doing the right thing. He's doing the exact same thing that you're supposed to be doing. You're supposed to go, why the fuck would I care about this? Like, yeah, I don't agree with everything. Do you agree with your wife on everything? Do you agree with your husband on everything? No, you don't. Okay. I don't agree with a lot of the things that CNN has said. I don't agree with a lot of the things that Fox News has said. I'm here, aren't I? Do you understand? It's a catch-all for, I'm a placeholder. I'm a placeholder for the enmity, the well-deserved enmity that a lot of people harbor against the nation state of Israel, right? I am a way for mainstream outlets to say, if you hate Israel, you are going to be judged in the exact same way by like choice quotes that we found that we will smear you with endlessly. Okay? There are two ways out of that. You either sit down and you discuss piece by piece each and every single quote over and over again, like I am forced to do at times. Okay, sorry, this is not significant in this race, and it shouldn't be significant. You're being ridiculous. Let's move on to the actual issues, which they do. Look, as soon as he says, like, look, I don't agree with everything that Hasan has said, but who cares? They move on to the real bread and butter. They move on to the real issue, which is Israel's genocide. She did that. She immediately moved on to Israel's genocide and said, well, the Detroit Free Press has said that you're, using Israel's genocide as a moral standard and tarnishing your opponents for not having a principled stance. It's a good thing you're not in any way associated with the DSA in any official capacity, or they'll probably start using it as the face of the DSA. That would sure be silly. I mean, they already do that, but that's not a problem because there's people who are even more radical than I am in the Democratic Socialists of America. Let's be real. But none of that matters at the end of the day. You know what matters? What policies you will deliver for people, okay? There is never going to be an honest fight. I need you all to understand this, and I never expected there to be an honest fight. There are certain standards that even I assume mainstream outlets won't, destroy in an effort to tarnish this movement. They have done so. But I never expected this. I have never expected this not to be a significant fight. Of course, it's going to be a major battle. Why would entrenched power give up the sweet deal that they have where they sit around and let lobbyists write the legislation and collect checks and send their next of kin, send their children to these corporations to get hundreds of thousands of dollars in no-show jobs? Why would they let that go? Why would they ever throw that away? That's a sweet bargain for them. The problem is that's horrible for you. Now, all of you in this community obviously understand that great design, right? Our job is now to communicate that to everybody else who's oblivious to this reality, okay? And that's precisely the reason why so many people are terrified of this movement. Do you understand? Of course, entrenched power is never going to fucking concede without demands and concede without equal and even force. Of course it's not going to happen. They're never going to give us a mandate. We have to build that mandate. Okay? They're never going to give us a time of day. And the more this movement grows, the more there's momentum on our side, the more they're going to attack with heinous smears over and over again. The beauty of it all is that in the new, unbelievably diverse media environment, they can't just get away with smearing people, right? 10 years ago, if this barrage of mainstream outlets and their smear campaign was targeting someone like myself, I'd be fucked because I would not have a competitive platform. I would not have a large enough platform to show people what the truth actually is. Not just the truth about what I represent, not just the truth about what this movement represents. It would be over. But we have the opportunity to fight back. And a big part of that is because of you. Okay? Because you come in here, you watch, you show support, you subscribe, you tell your friends. Okay? And then when directed, you go out and you phone bank for candidates. When directed, you go out and door knock for candidates that deserve it. We're all in this together. You're an incredibly important part of this movement. We don't have the money, but we have the organizational capacity. We have the actual investment, the people investment. This is a people-backed movement. It doesn't work. There is no consolidated power out there that's going to dump consolidated power out there that's going to, who the fuck are you again? Where am I? You okay, chatter? Yeah, they got the money, but we got the people. Remember that. We have the momentum. We have the people. We can be intense. We must be disciplined. We must organize, and we must out-organize every single time. And we will continue to do so, and I hope we can do that here in Colorado today. Okay, for Melat, Kiros, and for Julie Gonzalez as well. Now, the Julie Gonzalez race is going to be a lot more difficult, okay? It's a Senate race. It's obviously the entire state. She's been backed by Bernie Sanders. There's less than 7 hours left to phone bank for Melat and Julie. Lock in chat and keep smiling and dialing. Obviously, as the race has gotten close, as Diana DeGette has gotten more and more worried, there's been a tremendous amount of outside expenditures coming into the race, flooding the markets with lies, with smears. They only have one speed. Diana DeGette, for the past 30 plus years, has presented herself as a progressive. And yet, she's been a backbencher this whole time. Okay? She's done nothing. She's been a backbencher that has also been an advocate for corporate interests in Congress. And that's precisely the reason why Big Pharma has always donated to her campaign. That's precisely the reason why now you got even AIPAC dumping money into the campaign, and AIPAC affiliates dumping money in the campaign. Raytheon, Amazon, all these major corporations are doing last-second ad purchases that smear Melat Kiros. Our struggle is the same. The battle is always the same. All they have are heinous smears because they cannot stand on the policies that they've advanced. Okay? Do you understand? They can't stand on their track record. They can't stand on their policies. They can't stand on what they've delivered for the people of Denver, what they've delivered for the people of Colorado altogether. So all they can do is smear their opponents. And guess what? Negative ad spend like that does not draw voter turnout. It actually depresses voter turnout. So if we can go out and combat that wave of moneyed support, the negative ads that are flooding the TV markets for all the boomers in Denver to be fearful of a young lawyer, former barista, that's an anti-Zionist, that's anti-war, that's for Medicare for all, that's for housing for all, and a fantastic campaign with fantastic policies that center the working class. We got to be out there for her so she can fight for us. Okay?
Sorry, I don't think you're serious about solving the problems. If that makes me divisive, that's fine. But look, the American public is going to get, and whether we're talking about the parties writ large or we're talking about our Michigan race, it's on people to get to decide. And this is just what I'm saying. This is not a conversation about parties. So long as we are missing the conversation about everyday people and why they are struggling in their lives, we are missing the point of democratic politics in the first place.
In Michigan, it's a really unique place because of the auto industry and because of an influx of immigrants. Lots of Latinos from South Texas.
I think I'm repeating myself, and I have an Abdul interview tomorrow that gets into this, but a big difference between now and 2018 is how robust new left media is and how old media has contracted. The insurgent candidates have big popular forms for their messaging. Going on cable for 5 minutes of, but do you reject and denounce Hasan Piker has lower return on investment. Yeah. I spend 90 minutes with a candidate, and we go through the nitty gritty of their policies. That's the difference between me and CNN, by the way. A lot of people will say, oh, Hasan, you're unserious. You show meat, right? I'm unserious. Motherfucker, I show meat, and then I spend 90 minutes talking about the minutia, talking about the details. Yesterday with Francesca Hong, there were moments where we were, cracking jokes, right? Doing a mukbang or whatever. But ultimately, it was 90 minutes of wall-to-wall coverage on policies and what she will deliver for the good people of Wisconsin. What the fuck is mainstream media doing? They never talk about this shit. They rarely ever talk about this stuff. Isn't that crazy? It's so topsy-turvy. You got a guy who is deeply unserious, jokes around, says crazy things from time to time that people take seriously, engages in hyperbole, spending far more time on the minutia and the nitty-gritty of policies and the platform of individual candidates and what they will do rather than what you get on mainstream media, which is tabloid journalism. That's what's so crazy about the situation. The expectation is supposed to be the exact opposite. I'm supposed to be doing silliness with these candidates, right? How do we get here? Details of their policy platform, the 5 minutes they have trying to farm a soundbite. It's turned into, and most people are aware of it. Melat went on CNN today, though. Okay, we'll do it. We'll do the Melat one. Hold on. I'm saying, all jokes aside, I spent hours with these candidates talking about the details of their policy platform, whereas mainstream media spends the 5 minutes they have trying to farm a soundbite off of a gotcha. It's turned into what Jon Stewart represented during Global War on Terror. And most people are, and most boomers. Actually, I'm not gonna put the Jon Stewart thing in there. Never mind. I'm just gonna tweet it. The voters get to experience candidates as human beings when you interview them, which lends credibility to their policies they want to implement as resilient in the face of lobbyists and political machines once elected. Yes. Somewhere to live follow the Colorado 1 primary race tonight from Europe. Buddy, you're looking at it. I'm on the ground. I'm going to be directly involved as well. Fran Hong showed her culinary prowess with a food reaction yesterday, man. That was just evidence of her being an incredible chef. I've been around Michelin star chefs. They evaluate food completely different than normal people. Okay, dude. Listen. AOC's Israel amendments will not be brought to the floor. I know. We're going to be talking about that in a second. Let's move on from the Abdul interview. Let's get to Melat Kiros. Panic as far-left socialist challenges Dem incumbent in the Colorado primary. That's why we're here, ladies and gentlemen. You already know, okay? You already know. Fox News is freaking out. So are establishment Democrats.
Also happening today, Democrat socialist Melat Kiros taking on Colorado's most Dayen in the Democratic primary there. And Democrats are worried about another far left upset, with one House member saying, quote, I think it's quite likely DeJette will lose. Democratic leadership that ignores this does so at its own peril. Here's Kiros.
Dude, Hakeem Jeffries came out and said Diana DeGette has had a long and extensive career. Hakeem Jeffries literally talked about Diana DeGette yesterday like her campaign was over. Like it was over. Diana DeGette, more like Diana DeGone. Bro spoke like she died. And the thing is, for Diana, I will say this. She's been in power and has failed to deliver for Colorado 1 for 3 decades. She won that seat when Melat Kiros was born. Okay? Like, the honorable thing to do is to basically resign. It's so ridiculous. Like, what are you trying to prove at that point? I'm sorry. Even if you were an incredible fighter for progressive causes, if you were a champion of progressive causes, it's like, what are we doing? But she was not, right?
Doubling down.
But remember, this race is not wrapped up yet, okay? We still got to push. We still have to push, okay? We have to do everything in our power. We have to smile and dial. We have to continue phone banking. Phone banks are happening throughout the day. You can dial in from anywhere in the nation, okay? Remember that. It's the most effective way to combat against the barrage of misinformation and heinous smears that Melat Kiros has withstood throughout this entire campaign.
The radical movement.
It's a dirty game.
We were enforcing our borders long before ICE existed, and we'll do it long after ICE existed. Voters are voting across this country for leadership that is unbought and unafraid to stand up to the billionaires and the corporations that have kept our prices high, that have been burning our planet and profiting from genocide. I believe what we're talking about here is attacks that are taking place on the Jewish community as a result of the actions that are taking place in Palestine.
Joining us now to react, senior writer for the Washington Examiner and Fox News contributor Joe Concha. Joe, good morning to you. So we have a new name we're talking about today, in Melat Kiros, who's running in Colorado's very liberal 1st congressional district. And she believes in all the standard socialist things, abolish ICE and Medicare for all. But she also declined to call the firebombing of Jews in Boulder, Colorado, an act of anti-Semitism because she doesn't know what was in the heart of the perpetrator.
You know what's crazy about this, by the way? They're hitting her with what they would hit me with. Okay, They're hitting her now individually. Instead of like tying her to me in some way, shape, or form, they're doing the same thing to her. They're like purposely misunderstanding the point that she was addressing. They're purposely misunderstanding her over the head with this ridiculous nonsense to try to present her as a fucking anti-Semite. It's nasty.
And when asked,
Nasty.
she agreed that a 9/11 was the inevitable consequence of American foreign policy. There is very little polling when it.
You know what's funny about this? Robert Kagan, the godfather of the neocon movement, has also agreed with that statement because it's true. She's just acknowledging events that have unfolded. I'm sorry. You are trying to put the fucking toothpaste back in the goddamn tube. That's it.
Comes to this race, but if she does win, this would be a major victory for the socialist movement in this country.
I mean, think about what you just described there, Carly, as far as that firebombing in her district, saying that she doesn't know what's in the heart of the person who killed people. I mean, who cares what's in that person's heart? That person needs to go to jail, and yet here we have another foreign-born, anti-American candidate who will win in this district. I mean, you look at any polling that's coming out of there, I mean, this could be easily a double-digit victory for Melat Kiros. And we're seeing this now trend happening in New York City. We just saw it last week. 3 Democrat socialists, which, again, is the biggest oxymoron ever to put Democrat and socialist in the same sentence as far as democracy and socialism existing peacefully. Then we also have, obviously, in Seattle, Washington, in Washington, D.C., now Colorado, which used to be a purple state. Now, obviously, it's quite blue, especially in the Denver-Boulder area. This is the trend at this point. But again, if you're a member of the Republican Party and you're running in the midterms in 2026 or running for president in 2028, this is a walking, talking campaign commercial. When you look at all of her extreme views that say, once again, that there shouldn't be any military or financial assistance to Israel whatsoever.
Terrifying. Wow, that's crazy. No, we shouldn't have any military or financial assistance to Israel ever. Wow, what a terrible platform. What's your platform? What's the Republican Party's platform? More military and financial assistance to this foreign state? Why? The fuck? Didn't Donald Trump run on isolationism? Didn't Donald Trump run on America first? Didn't Donald Trump run on no new wars? Israel's gotten us to a new war, a war that is directly translated to higher gas prices for Americans, more inflation for Americans. Why the fuck would they want that? This is not just an issue that Democrats care about. This is an issue that all Americans care about. This is something that transcends party lines. Okay? I will give you one thing, though. Kyle Clark, big day for the 100-plus Denver Democrats who planned to run for Congressman Dayen to get retired, only to watch Melat Kiros announce she wasn't waiting. A Kiros win would be seismic for Democratic politics in Colorado, where nearly everyone waits their turn and stays in line. This is the alternative, by the way. This is something that actually has been beneficial because a lot of the do-nothing Dems, a lot of the people that waited their turn, a lot of the people that abide by the seniority in the party are now probably very frustrated. Because all of those careerists, they played the role that they're supposed to play. They waited their turn, right? This is a real issue. Seniority is a real issue at the heart of this goddamn party, okay? Yeah, Andrew Solander says, it's been a rough year for Democratic Party electeds in safe blue districts who have spent decades waiting for their long-time incumbents to retire. Of course we're not going to wait for that.
You said 9/11 being inevitable, given our own foreign policy. 29 years old, there she is on your screen, and she's going to be in every campaign ad, along with Zohran Mamdani, along with Katie Wilson, the mayor of Seattle, going forward as far as the midterms are concerned, because this is the new Democratic Party, Todd.
Joe, need a real quick answer here. You heard President Trump in that soundbite going into the commercial. He's not using the word socialism anymore. He's using the word communism. As a messaging expert yourself, what do you make of that change?
I think in the end, Todd, if you have a very binary choice, just a very simple choice between common sense you win that battle every time. Ronald Reagan obviously ran on that back in 1980. Also had a great line saying, "Are you better off than you were 4 years ago?" when he ran against Jimmy Carter. Yeah, just make it a very simple choice for voters. Don't get deep down in the policy. And I think in the end, Republicans, again, are embracing this as a result because it's a very easy choice for most Americans in swing districts, not so much in deep blue districts, but in swing districts, this message wins, Todd.
Joe Concha, we will see. Thank you, sir. We appreciate it as always.
Be sure to like and subscribe for all the Fox News latest on YouTube and catch full shows streaming now on Fox One.
What we don't have are leaders who are unbought.
Also, it's hilarious as this guy talks about democracy and socialism being contradictory when they spend all their time calling Democrats socialists and communists. Yeah, I mean, it's the only speed that they have. It's the only meta that they have. They're communist socialists, communist socialists. Well, guess what? You know what happens when the stigma associated with the term goes away? That line of attack goes away even for the fucking do-nothing Democrats that are called socialist and communist. Ironically enough. Okay? So we're not just doing a favor for our movement. We're not just doing a favor for a movement that centers the working class. We're doing a favor to the fucking do-nothing Democrats as well, who get fucking yelled at all the goddamn time. That's it. This is a fucking joke aside from Roe. What is this? Anyway, oh yeah, this is a warning for everyone, by the way, with a big election night today in Colorado. Here's a briefing on what to expect tonight on the Democratic side. Colorado is fundamentally a vote-by-mail state. Every registered voter receives a mail ballot, though voters can still cast ballots in person. Mail-in ballots must be received by Election Day to be counted. In broad terms, ballots are counted roughly in order they are received, meaning earlier return ballots are usually reported first, while later return ballots are added later. Remember, this won't stop this is not going to stop the mainstream outlets from doing an adequate projection potentially, but there is a likelihood that you are going to see the early in the night massive numbers for Diana to get. Okay, if you see that, that shouldn't freak you out at all, because guess what? Every single day for the past week, the average age of voters has gone down dramatically. As in, a lot of the more progressive voters, they tend to vote later. They tend to vote on election day, as a matter of fact. Which is why, if you see I guess in the Democratic Party version of this, a red mirage style situation, like we saw with the Spencer Pratt early victory, as opposed to Nithya Raman, you are most likely going to see something similar here in Colorado as well. There's also another thing that is an issue in Colorado. There is no, we're not going to know exactly what percentage of votes have been counted either. Okay? That matters a lot tonight. In broad terms, ballots are counted roughly in the order they're received, meaning earlier return ballots are usually reported first, while later return ballots are added later. That matters a lot tonight. Colorado's early electorate has been quite old, but has been getting younger and younger as we get closer to Election Day. This isn't a surprise based on recent patterns, including late counting progressive strength in recent elections in other late mail elections in Seattle, Salt Lake City, and LA. We think later ballots should be more favorable to progressives, potentially by a huge margin. At first, votes will be reported rather quickly. We expect roughly 50% of the total vote to report within the first 90 minutes after polls close. But that does not mean that the count will be remotely representative of the final results. Our current expectation is that around 75% of all ballots will be counted by the end of the night, with the remaining vote counting to report in the days that follow. But because of that, patience is essential. In some races, progressives could be trailing by a sizable margin initially and still have a real path back in the late mail behaves if the late mail behaves as expected. As a rough benchmark, we think progressives could be down. Remember, this is important. Progressives could be down as much as 20 after the initial drop and still have a realistic path back to win. So if you see Diana to get 20 points above Melat Kiros, which I don't think we will see, I think it'll be much closer. Melat Kiros will still have a clear pathway to victory, okay? If a progressive candidate is trailing by less than 4 points when election night counting ends early Wednesday morning, I expect we will say they are favored, though that rough benchmark could shift based on how the mail vote actually moves throughout the night. Unlike California, Colorado does not have a centralized statewide reconciliation site showing how many ballots remain. That means the true universe of outstanding votes may be difficult to assess. Okay, that's also important. We don't know like what percentage of votes have been counted, right? Especially in close statewide races. In the past, there has been a substantial amount of uncertainty and incorrect information floating around regarding the number of ballots remaining. Colorado 3 in 2022 lingers in the mind of many. Historically, Colorado counties often finish counting by the weekend after Election Day. But this year, the calendar could also slow things down. Friday, July 3rd is the observed Independence Day holiday, which may complicate late week follow-up in county reporting. And then the holiday weekend could continue to slow down the process, meaning close races may not be fully resolved until early next week. New ballot numbers just dropped. Ladies and gentlemen, Election Day ballots are surging in Denver. Youth vote is coming in big on the final day. 20 this far. We will likely go north of 50K just on today. Great news for Melat, Kiros, and Phil Weiser. Okay? Look at those numbers, baby. I know you like the number, and we got the number. Okay? Plattner soft endorses Abdul.
Up to Washington, our new senator.
Of course he's going to endorse Abdul. He's literally backed by the same fucking groups, the same vehicle.
Welcome to the Senate, Graham. Now go to the back row, sit down, and shut up.
There has been a group of...
Dude, Maine is so awesome.
...senators who've begun to coalesce and work together and build kind of a core of power in the Senate. I just want to add to their numbers. Right now, depending on who you count, we've got like 7 to 9. But I'm going to win this thing. And James Tallarico is going to win in Texas. And Mary Peltola is going to win in Alaska. Sherrod Brown's going to win in Ohio. Abdul El Sayed is going to win in Michigan. Ooh. Peggy Flanagan's going to win out in Minnesota.
Ooh, Abdul El Sayed is going to win in Michigan. Oop, the primary's not over yet, Graham. That's a soft endorsement. That's a soft endorsement. Oop. ZBS has Wiener on.
This one beyond.
Yeah, I know. We'll talk about that. Everyone's been yelling about Scott Wiener being a victim of bird dogging incident.
And we're not going to have flips from red to blue. We're going to have flips from red to fighting Democrats.
Nice. Here's Michael from Pennsylvania's prediction. I mean, look, he was on the ball with New York. He nailed it. Okay. He nailed it. We shall see if he's right. Okay. I'm never going to be as confident as Michael from Pennsylvania is. You guys know my policy. Until it's over, we keep fighting. Okay. It's not over until it's done. I'm always going to be nervous, especially the day of the election. You guys have seen me go through the motions every single time. You watched me do this in New York City. I was in New York City, and until the night of the election, until we found out exactly what the margins look like, the margins of victory, my asshole was puckering till the final moment, and that's going to continue being the case here in Denver, Colorado. Okay? But he says Melat, early vote, +6, +7. Final margin, Melat, +10. That's crazy. If early vote goes to Melat, final margin will be more than 10, in my opinion. But we'll see.
Colorado has some mail-in voting, right? But I think they should have it all counted before the polls close. I think we should have a good sense. And I also think we'll know by tonight because she'll be winning by so much. So I have a feeling like as soon as polls close, we're going to have a big drop and Melat's going to be in the lead. And then that's that. And it's going to be.
If polls close and Melat's in the lead, it's over. I mean, every channel will project her as the winner. Okay. Because of the thing that we just mentioned earlier, which is that the age breakdown will favor 65 plus leading up to the last week of mail-in ballot drop-offs. It's only gotten younger, and it's continuing to trend younger, and it's going to be even younger today, hopefully. But having said that, if Melat is winning, that means that she's winning with 65 plus, which is supposed to be the safe haven for Diana to get. Judging by the anecdotal information that I have received from all of you, many of you have phone banked. You've talked to a lot of older voters, some of which are very positive on Melat, but there's also some older voters that have genuinely said she's an anti-Semite. So I am actually worried about that. Okay, I'm actually worried about how much those heinous smears work because every district is different. But there's one reliable thing you can look at. 65 plus older voters will literally listen to whatever television man is telling them and will go, that's right, that's the case. This younger black candidate probably is a terrorist. Okay. So I am definitely still very nervous.
Called relatively quickly. I think she'll end up. I think when the early votes are dropped, she'll probably be up 6. That's my prediction. She'll be up 6 when the polls close, and the first big drop will be somewhere around 4 to 6 points, and then it'll rise up to 10 plus after all the votes are counted. 6 or 7 votes, 6 or 7 points. Will we know who?
Okay, the 6 or 7 he was memeing about probably. I think if Melat has a margin of victory in the early mail-in ballot drop-offs, it's not going to be 6 points, because if it's 6 points, then she won't win by 10. She will win by more than 10. But what do I know? Michael from Pennsylvania is, a lot more knowledgeable in reading this kind of stuff. I'm a vibes guy. Okay, I'm a vibes voter. I'm a vibes-based understander. And I will always be fearful until the last moment. I will always be unbelievably conservative with my estimations. Yesterday, over 19,000 additional ballots were returned to Denver, making the youngest day of the early voting period so far. We already talked about that. He's not memeing. He was not memeing about 6 or 7. Okay. I'm a numbers guy. I trust Michael from Pennsylvania number. I know you like the number. We like the number plus 10. I wonder what his take is on Gonzalez. Because, look, the Senate is an entirely different behemoth. Okay? The Senate is an entirely different behemoth. Proud to endorse Abdul al-Sayed for U.S. Senate. Abdul will fight to get money out of politics, put money back in workers' pockets, and pass Medicare for all. I'll be seeing Chris in a little bit, by the way, in 2 hours or so, in less than 2 hours. And I'm going to have David Dayen on in half an hour. We're going to be talking about SCOTUS. We're going to be talking about the number. We're going to be talking about the number of smear campaigning ad dollars that have flooded in to the Dayen to get race here for against Melat Kiros. He thinks Gonzalez is going to be razor thin. Yeah, I can. Dude, if Gonzalez wins, that is an insane victory. Okay, you have to understand. I think Gonzalez has been a little too shy. I mean, so shy that even I called it out when we were having a conversation, because she has been a bold advocate, right? She has been a bold champion of a lot of issues in her time in Colorado politics. And I wish that her communication was bold, just like her policy making has been. Okay? That has been, I think, the only thing I can say. That's the only thing I can say about Julie, Senadora, that I think could play a role in this, in her race. Obviously, the calculation that they're making is very different than mine. The calculation that her team and she is making is different than mine. I think it's time. I think it's time to be bold. But the Senate is a different demon, is a different behemoth. But we have seen success in Michigan for Abdul, who has not shied away from being bold. Graham Plattner in Maine, who has not shied away from being bold, right? So there are obviously clear examples of people who are not shying away from taking firm positions on issues, right? And you know, being and presenting themselves as a fighter. I think that's what a lot of people are looking for. And I do think that that she's playing it a little bit more careful than the other candidates that, you know, we've looked at that have made waves. I think that also did not nationalize this race as much for her, as opposed to even Melat Kiros. But then again, I think she still has a shot. It's just, you know, it's just tough. Hickenpooper has a lot more name recognition. This is a Senate race. And in order to fight for that name recognition, I would have, if I was Julie Gonzalez's campaign manager, or if I was advising in any capacity, I would have said, you should be a lot more aggressive in your stances. Like, use the momentum that you'll get from people being like, oh, you're associating with Hasan Piker. Use that as an opportunity in the spotlight to be like, there are plenty of people in the state of Colorado who I don't agree with on many issues, but it doesn't matter. I will fight for them too. Hickenlooper has left them behind, you know, that kind of thing. I think she shied away a little bit, but it's okay. Same with, like I've said, the Senate is different. The Senate is different than the House of Representatives, okay? The Senate is different than the House of Representatives, and that's the reason why you haven't seen any senators up until now, and you probably won't see them in this primary cycle, in this midterm cycle, openly seek out the endorsement of the DSA and say that they're Democratic Socialists, because it's a statewide race, and there's a lot more money involved. And I think that there is still this hang up. There's still this hang up in the eyes of many, both in the primaries for the Democrats and certainly in the general for the midterms. There's still this hang up with this association with democratic socialism. They're worried about it. Anyway, that will change though. And I think the victories that we notch for democratic socialists who are loud and proud about their association will inevitably give confidence to others who are running in the Senate to also come out and seek out that endorsement eventually. And I think the first person will either be AOC if she runs for Senate or Summerlee. 2028, mark my words. In 2028, we will have open Democratic Socialists running for Senate who will seek out the endorsement of the Democratic Socialists of America. Maybe not in the primaries, maybe not in the midterms, but in 2028, you will see people seeking out that endorsement. Mark my fucking words. Okay?
And unafraid to stand up to the billionaires and the corporations that are keeping our prices high, that are burning our planet, that are profiting from genocide. And that's what we deserve.
In the caucus process and on these doors, I have never felt this much.
Can we take your word on this like we did for Ukraine? That's so funny. Dude, my haters are down abysmal. Okay, Unc, taking your ball and going home, bro, puts on a suit and everything changes. Socialist mansion with a smart board, lol. You claim not to be a grifter too. Dude, I wanna fucking pour one out for my haters. I know it's been tough for all of you. Okay? I know it's been so tough for all of you, for many of you. You said, Hasan, you don't get involved in politics seriously, and then I did. And then you said your politics won't win, and then it did. And now you just have to seethe from a position of irrelevance. You know, go campaign for Josh Gottheimer or something, man. You know? I apologize to all my haters. I have made you the waiters at my table of success, at our table of success. But guess what, comrade? You can also be a part of the table of success. You don't even have to publicly make this change, okay? We'll welcome you with open arms as long as your heart and as long as what's in here has changed, okay? That's it. That's all this is. I wish you well. I know it's been a tough year. I know it's been a tough couple of years. Many of you basically found yourselves on the side of an apartheid state that was continuing to do ethnic cleansing as it had done for 75 years prior to October 7. And you thought that that would be a fantastic opportunity to join forces with some of the most schizophrenic institutional organizations to demand the deplatforming of your favorite sex pest's least favorite content creator, right? Did you feel in like the early stages of 2024 that this is where we would get, where there would be a dramatic sea change, where the public would just simply see the truth about what Israel was doing, and that there would be a dramatic sea change and a demand for politicians who would say the truth? and that those politicians would start winning these races. Hasan talking to his haters, like how I calmed the frightened dog that had escaped into my backyard last year. She was so sweet if you just laid down and talked to her. Yeah, I welcome you to be on the right side of history, no matter how long it takes, okay? Because the thing that we have on our side that you don't have is conviction. If you don't have conviction, if you don't have courage, if you don't have a political vision for a better tomorrow, all you have at your disposal is reacting to the way things are being shaped by those who do have that conviction. You understand? And especially if you're facing a foe that you have identified as an enemy, which I don't think we should be, okay? I don't think we should be enemies at all. But if you have defined me as your enemy, more often than not, you're going to find yourself on the wrong side of many issues. That's it. It's super simple. No one knows what you've done leading up to this moment. And I certainly will not hold it against you as long as you join the right side. In any case, speaking of joining the battle and joining the right side in this cause, let's be real. We're going to be carrying the flame in a little bit because it's level 2 hype train. And you, too, can support the broadcast. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're wondering how you can carry the flame, at level 10 hype train, we always carry the flame every single day. And today is another one of those days. All you need to do for the Piker Broadcasting Service, the People's Broadcasting Service, to support independent media is to subscribe. No ads, no ad breaks, no sponsorships. Just a subscription, a voluntary subscription. You don't have to subscribe if you don't want to. But if you do, at level 10 hype train, we will carry the motherfucking flame. Oh my God, Closed Presence is back. What the hell? Haven't seen that name in a decade, it seems like. Will Mike Plays, thank you for the 10 community gift subs. MX Mirror, thank you for the 5. Closed Presence, thank you for the hundo spot. Level 5 hype train already achieved. We're at level 6 already. God damn. Straight was closed, and now it's open, it seems, and Closed Presence is back. Our Oilers are back. That's right. Julia Palooza, thank you for the 5. B Radical, thank you for the 10. Mesitone, thank you for the 5. And Bezalia, thank you for the 10. Honey and Bees, thank you for the 5 gifted subs. Oh, also, a coalition of some of the most Fed-coded forces are finally gathering together. Our haters are anemic. Our haters must be anemic, but they are doing their very best. The real horseshoe has been unlocked, joining forces off of their mutual and shared enmity towards a political content creator. It seems to me like the haters still want to maintain being waiters at the table of success. That's right. Never thought I would see the day when a far left, ostensibly, someone who considers themselves to be a far left doxer and a center right liberal groiper doxer. You know, we got the third worldist doxers, third worldist groiper doxers, and we got the DNC groiper doxers coming together to dox into oblivion. Fantastic. Level 7 hype train, ladies and gentlemen. Lofi Dude, thank you for the 5 gifted subs. Doesn't Destiny pretend to be Epstein? Pretend to be a huge electoralist? Yes. But he has decided that electoralism is a bad route because remember, the only thing driving him is his enmity towards me. And now that I'm participating in elections as aggressively as I can, as hands-on as I can, he's decided the only route available to him is to sit at home and shit on those efforts. Okay? That's all they got. CMOC, Benny Scrap, thank you for the 10. Level 7 hype train complete. Soy Chorizo, thank you for the 5. Olives and Oil, thank you for the 5. Jakub's Most Putrid Caucus. Yeah, there was another post from Ogre Boy, the account that I saw on my timeline. My Twitter algo is so busted. Okay, but that clued me in on what Epstein has been focusing on, as this community has been going out door knocking, doing everything in our power to make sure that we have make sure that we have candidates that center the working class in their politics. Here, last month of commentary. Is there a day that goes by that this man doesn't simply watch whatever the I'm doing? Every damn day, dude. I wonder how his audience perceives this. Like, at some point, they got to be like, dude, are we doing more Hasan content again? New LARP. Did he glitch? Ron Burgundy suit. You're just Matty-S style. He's overstimulated. He's going to cry about this for years. Shock collar Hasan. I can't breath. Okay, but for real, how much did Dan pay this man? You think he's going to blame you for this? No. He was zooming on the Revolution Hasan frame to see if you were reading talking points when discussing Gaza on a different monitor last week. Ogre posted about this as well, I believe, or maybe it's Queen. I guess he's just completely given up on making any sort of significant changes or even having an impact on the Democratic Party's politics altogether. And his entire focus is just watching my VODs, which I assume this VOD will also be watched as well, as he tries to generate as much revenue as possible for his court case, where he's just like melting hundreds of thousands of dollars as he victim blames the people who are brave enough to sue him for distributing revenge porn. An unofficial HasanAbi Industrial Complex channel. Level 8 Hype Train. 1 minute remaining, ladies and gentlemen. Level 8 Hype Train. 1 minute remaining. Will we carry the flame, or will the flame perish today? Remember, at level 10 Hype Train, we carry the flame. All right, let's continue.
Anti-establishment energy from everyday people than I felt this cycle.
There's something happening across America, a political movement setting off earthquakes. It rocked New York last week, and now it's headed for the Rocky Mountains.
Everybody here voted already? Yeah!
In Denver, a 29-year-old lawyer, PhD student, and barista named Melat Kiros is running for Congress and primarying a long-time incumbent, Dayen DeGette. And according to recent polls,
Setu would run with 50 bones, saving the opportunity for the flame to be carried. Holy moly. Enteombi, Comfy Kathy, thank you for the 5. Based Max, thank you for the 5. Honeybees, thank you for the 5. Level 8 Hype Train complete. We have one more level remaining. Level 9 Hype Train at 19%. Amy Eon, thank you for the 10. Just because Kirk couldn't parry, we have to carry? Yes. Yes, and I will be playing the Bollywood version because that's my favorite version right now. It's stuck in my mind all the time. If we get there, of course. If we get there. Once again, no guarantees. Coma Crest, thank you for the 5. Jimmy Cheese, thank you for the 5. Apparently, he now believes you're being sent notes to hit talking points because you've gotten better at propaganda.
So his eyes go between two places, but he's full screened and he's not looking at the camera. So one of these places his eyes are going to is the chat, I would imagine.
Wow. Incredible commentary, man. Yeah, no, I'm literally monitoring the chat, monitoring the stream. That's what I'm doing. I don't have talking points to hit, but it's cool. It's like when people say I'm doing steroids. Okay? This is unbelievably schizophrenic, by the way. The most clickable bald Hasan thumbnail legendary editor is like watching bronze players celebrate getting into silver. Piker's really the Trump of the left. He doesn't do anything other than damaging the cause. And when the Dems win, he takes credit for it. Mamdani got 3 candidates elected from his work, and Hasan now thinks he runs the world is really something. Yeah. Someone is sending you a transcript that you're reading from? Yeah, it must be the Chinese Communist Party, right?
And then I'm curious what the second one is. Could it be like whatever notes he has to hit the talking points?
Forcing...
You could tell, I guess, based on when he pauses. It does look like the downward eyes here is looking at the whatever he has printed off or whatever.
Bro, this is brain damage, dude. This is actually brain damage. Also, we made it to level 10 Hype Train. Colorado being a focus is so strange. When we were considered a purple state, it was crazy. Then we faded into the background, elected a gay libertarian redditor for governor, and now we are here with serious socialist candidates. Yes. All right. David Dayen of the American Prospect is going to be on the broadcast now, ladies and gentlemen. And hopefully I'll be able to do it with the virtual camera. All right, perfect. I think you mentioned Charlie Kirk more than Erica does. I probably do because I carry to flame. And I fight for the gospel. I honor his name. All right. David, can you hear me?
I can.
Perfect. Okay, I got the right
Can you hear
microphone.
me?
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, David Dayen on the broadcast. What an honor. It's an interesting time to have you
Honor's
on. There is a
all
lot
mine.
of momentum on candidates that I'm a little out of breath. Sorry, I was just dancing. Sorry, this is I like to do both. I like to have fun, but then also get into the nitty gritty and the serious stuff. You have peace out on the American Prospect since last night, I believe. We're going to be talking about that. The Supreme Court came down with some very serious decisions today, and I wanted to start by talking about that and then maybe tie it even back to the reason for why I'm in Denver, Colorado, pushing for Melat, Kiros, and Julie Gonzalez to hopefully win their races. So let's start there. The Supreme Court, good or bad? What do you think?
Up or down? Big thumbs down today. 3 rulings today. One of them, they retained birthright citizenship, but really only by 1 vote. Kavanaugh said that the Constitution does not disallow regulations on birthright citizenship, but some statute does separately. So you really have 4 votes saying that the plain language of the Constitution that's in the 14th Amendment does not say what it says it is. It does. And that was the good ruling, right? So the other 2, one of them involved, or 2 of them involved trans athletes in sports, and basically said that states can put together any rule they want to ban that. And the other one, which is probably going to get less attention, is around campaign finance. So this was a case brought by the National Committee, which is the campaign arm for Senate Republicans, and they wanted to coordinate party spending with candidates and have unlimited amounts of spending. Previously, the parties could coordinate a certain amount of money, I think it was $69,000 at the minimum, maybe a little bit more than that for Senate. They could coordinate a certain amount of money, but now there's unlimited coordination spending. What that means is the party arms, NRSC, the DCCC, and the Democratic side, the DNC, the RNC, they get all kinds of corporate money, and now they can legally use unlimited amounts of that corporate money and put it into candidate races as much as they possibly want. When you work on a coordinated basis with a campaign, you get cheaper rates. So like if a super PAC ad wants to put an ad on Denver television, they'll probably charge 10 times as much, up to 10 times as much for that ad that they would for an ad from a candidate. So now this is a way to funnel corporate money directly to candidates in coordination with the parties and get cheaper ad rates so that money goes even further. So it's a really bad ruling. It kind of ends any pretense about limits on corporate money in elections, as if there was any already.
Yeah. So you don't believe that this is... you don't believe that the previous formation was a significant violation of the First Amendment, that corporations are people, and that people are, of course, inevitably going to communicate with one another, including when a person, a corporation, directly gets together with other corporations and creates a super PAC that can directly coordinate with the campaign now, rather than have to go through the previous formation, the previous route, which made it so that you had to go and look at the red boxes, or you had to have...
Yeah, let's be honest, Hasan, the whole thing's a farce, right? A candidate says, I'm not legally coordinating with a corporate PAC. However, if you go to my website, I'll tell you exactly what that PAC should say, when they should run these ads, who they should appeal them to. I mean, it gets really, really intricate. If you go to any campaign website and look for the link that says media, and that link is the red box that shows you, and usually it's outlined by a red box, and it shows how that candidate is basically flouting the rule of no coordination with super PACs by telling them exactly what they want in those ads. And so, this was kind of a legal fiction anyway, that we weren't coordinating. But now it's the ability for parties to do this coordination in a way that that basically multiplies the impact and the power of corporate money because they get the cheaper ad rates.
Yeah. Devastating day for American democracy, but then again, it's expected considering
It's also
that
Tuesday. It's also a Tuesday,
Yeah, it's just
a devastating day, but it's just Tuesday.
Yeah. So speaking of the impact that this has had, even with the current formation before the Supreme Court decision, you wrote about how Diana DeGette, who is a 30-year incumbent member of the Congressional Progressive Caucus, has received a tremendous amount of outside expenditures, outside spending coming into this race in the last hour. Our suspicion, of course, is that this is directly tied to their internal numbers that they saw. This started last week or so, as Diana DeGette in the last month or so has decided to turn up the negative attack ads against Melat Kiros. Some heinous things have been said, calling her an anti-Semite, smearing her, highlighting a Colorado Polls article that was totally ridiculous, saying that Melat Kiros actually wants Jewish people to be harmed. They're playing a rough game, as we saw with Adriana Espaillat, not dissimilar to the Adriana Espaillat incident that took place against Daria Liza, where a lot of these candidates that don't have policies they can stand on, despite the many years that they've been in Congress, will oftentimes just open up the money faucet and increase in and engage in heinous smear campaigns against their much younger insurgent challengers. And it hasn't really been successful, but they're still trying it. But they're aided and abetted by a tremendous amount of corporate expenditure coming from the outside. What do you make of that situation?
Yeah. Well, we already know that DeGette is a corporate-backed candidate. This is someone who's a member of the Progressive Caucus, been around for 30 years. And when my reporter brought me this stat, I almost didn't believe it, but it's true. 64% of DeGette's lifetime fundraising comes from corporate PACs. 64%. That's an unbelievable. This is over 15 terms of her career. So this is a candidate, despite saying that she supports Medicare for all, she takes money from the pharmaceutical interests, she takes money from the insurance companies, and despite being, nominally a progressive in a very left-wing district in Denver there, she is a corporate-backed candidate. And so when she gets into trouble, who is she going to turn to? And sure enough, we have these, whether it's big tech, which is very suspected to be behind, I believe it's the 218 Project, one of the PACs that is supporting DeGette, whether it's what they call pro-choice majority, which I believe that money, we know through documented campaign finance disclosures, that PAC and its umbrella sort of parent PAC known as EDW took $1 million from AIPAC. And then there was this third PAC called Mile High Accountability, and we couldn't get a lot of information about that PAC. And so it turns out they never filed a form saying who their donors were, which was required by law. And so the Campaign Legal Center put out a complaint saying, you're breaking the law, Mile High Accountability. You're not telling us who your donors are. So they finally, at the last minute, after the complaint was released, they file saying, here's who our donors are. And almost all of the money comes from a different 501c4 that doesn't have to release its donors. So there's a dark money PAC, and it's funded by a different dark money PAC. And so we don't even know who is funding that to try to save DeGette's bacon here. But it's probably consistent with the interests that has supported her entire career.
Yeah. What do you make of the conversation that's taking shape inside of the conversation that's taking shape inside of the Democratic Party right now? There are a lot of centrist Democrats that have come out and said, this is not us. These guys are Democratic Socialists. Maybe you should find your own party. They're really advancing this message, this narrative. Where do you think this will go? Do you think that the establishment Democrats are going to actively fight back against this insurgent wave of candidates, or do you think that there will be more of a consolidation? I feel like Nancy Pelosi, for all of her faults and failures, was actually far better at taking this kind of momentum that took place with the squad in 2018 and packaging it under the big tent of the Democratic Party, whereas Hakeem Jeffries has seemingly created more friction that actually helps, I think, my candidates, our candidates, candidates that are insurgents. It makes them look better as well, instead of trying to bring them under the umbrella of the Democratic Party and then maybe even neutering some of their ambitions.
Yeah, it's definitely a different approach. I mean, Hakeem Jeffries, we know back a few years ago, started a PAC with Josh Gottheimer, who's maybe the right-wing member of the Democratic House Caucus, that was specifically about protecting incumbents from left-wing challenges. So we know where Jeffries is at here. And it's funny to me to see, it's kind of like, what is a scandal, right? They pick out and choose tweets or past statements, past comments, and that's built up to be a big scandal because they can post the tweet and show it. But voting for the Lake and Riley Act, which dozens of House Democrats did, nobody needs to distance themselves from that, right? There's no scandal there that you voted for the thing that is being used to abduct people off the streets, to house them in these horrible detention centers without charges. We've documented, I think, 20 deaths just this year in ICE detention facilities. That's not a scandal. But for some reason, a tweet from 4 years ago is a scandal.
Yeah. Speaking of scandal after scandal, as a matter of fact, you just brought up Josh Gottheimer. There is another target, for me at least, that the national progressive movement hasn't really been paying that much attention to, with the exception of the DSA, and that is Moskowitz seat. This is in Florida, Florida 25.
Oh, yeah.
It's a newly cut down district that was dummy mandered, to use a term that Hakeem Jeffries likes to use. It's actually far closer of a race where we have a real opportunity to unseat a potential Republican, even though it's like a plus 10 Republican district or something.
I think it's a
plus 7.
Yeah, I think it's plus 10-ish that went for Trump, but Biden won the district in 2020.
Yeah.
So it's a district that swung but could swing back.
Yeah, and the reason why I'm bringing this up, of course, is because earlier today there was a War Powers resolution for Lebanon. This was the War Powers resolution for Lebanon that Representative Rashida Tlaib put forward to basically stop Trump's unilateral war powers, and a similar bill obviously passed with Iran. Not to say that it's going to have any real impact in terms of curbing back Donald Trump's actions, because he's very clearly violated that War Powers resolution this past weekend when he bombed Iran instead of trying to advance the Memorandum of Understanding. But the reason why I'm bringing this up is because Josh Gottheimer, alongside 21 other Democrats, voted no on the War Powers resolution on Lebanon, and one of those Democrats was also Moskowitz. So there are a lot of these. Democrats.
You should mention Hasan, the candidate who's running against Moskowitz. His name's Oliver Larkin, and we've actually written about him at the Prospect. I haven't seen him in many other places, but it's one that's really interesting to watch. The whole South Florida Democratic party is kind of a sewer. It's really problematic. You have Debbie Wasserman Schultz. When there's another seat like Moskowitz's that went for Biden and then flipped back, and there's a swing seat that she could win. Instead, she went running to a historically black district where she's now going to run, I guess, in Kentekla, and against 4 black candidates that were already running in that race.
Yeah. No, Debbie Wasserman Schultz, I think, is another unique opportunity for the progressive insurgent movement, the Democratic Socialists, to have an impact in. And I think Florida is really interesting because no one is paying attention to it. There's not a lot of national attention being paid to Florida right now. And there's certainly not a lot of attention being paid to Florida from some of the other national organizations that normally would get involved. They've played it somewhat more safe than I would have assumed, even Justice Democrats. You got Elijah Manley, former Democratic Socialist, who's still running as a Democratic Socialist, but he was in DSA Broward, I believe, when he was 18 years old, who is trying to consolidate support amongst the other black candidates.
I've been able to do that, and so they're all going to be on the ballot. So that's going to be a tough road. I think Larkin is that's a very interesting race because it's a one-on-one against Moskowitz. But that's a late summer primary, August 18th. Anything could happen there. And it's gotten almost no attention from anybody. I mean, everyone's talking about Michigan. Everyone's talking about, maybe to a lesser extent, Minnesota, Wisconsin, that were the gubernatorial candidates, a DSA member. But no one's talking about Florida, and those races are really interesting.
Yeah, no, I think that even the more progressive like insurgent party movements at the national level have hyper focused on what they perceive are like easy winnable. Well, they're not. None of them are easily winnable districts because there's a tremendous amount of moneyed interest coming in and pouring into these races. But like they focus more so on deep blue districts. But I think there is a real opportunity to flip some purple seats.
Well, I'll give you one that I have a piece coming out tomorrow about this, and it's in Michigan, in mid-Michigan. And the candidate's name is Will Lawrence. And he was an organizer with the Sunrise Movement and then became a housing organizer in Lansing. There are 3 candidates in the race. 2 of them are establishment-backed. One was the ambassador to Ukraine, and the other guy was an ex-Navy SEAL. They're like classic biographies of who the Democratic establishment runs in a swing district. This is a district held by a Republican, used to be Alyssa Slotkin's district. But it's kind of the classic biography, right? Yeah. And those 2 candidates are running against one another. They, if you look at their red boxes, they're all about the other person. And yet Will Lawrence has led in 3 of the 4 polls that have actually been publicly released in the district. He put out his first ad of the cycle today. It's all about a data center that is going in that district and how he's the only one fighting it. He has a real shot to kind of flip this script and say that actually my populism, my economic populism actually helps me in a swing district because I can bring together different coalitions than the normal kind of establishment, middle of the road candidate can. And so that one I think is going to be really interesting because he's kind of favored and it's very under the radar given what we've seen so far in terms of the polling.
No, absolutely. There are a lot of left populist candidates that are either DSA backed or affiliated or endorsed or adjacent that are making waves in supposedly purple districts and supposedly purple states, right?
Have you been up to see Villegas? I've
yet to hang out with Villegas. We got Villegas, and then we also have Vang as well.
Vang, sure.
Also Angela Gonzalez as well, Gonzalez Torres. So there are.
That's a lefty district in LA, but sure.
Yeah, sure. No, I'm just saying, like in general, there are a lot of candidates that haven't gotten the national attention, but I think like this sort of affiliation, this sort of association will offer them that national attention. And what I have seen, at least in my experience, is that even the negative association with someone like myself that like the media tries to frame as a negative association ends up working in their favor in every district, including statewide districts, as we've seen with Abdul El-Sayed.
And on the opposite side of that, all the money that's coming in has had kind of a backlash as well. I saw a report today from Public Citizen that this is another stunning stat. 1/3 of all the corporate money that has been spent since Citizens United's ruling in 2010, 1/3 of the money in that 16-year period has been spent in this primary cycle. And that's only half the year. It's only half the primary cycle.
I know.
We still have 20-some states to go.
It's unbelievable.
But there is, compared to 2022, compared to 2024, there is diminishing returns. The pro-Israel PACs won pretty much every race in those other two cycles. The crypto PACs won practically every race they played in those previous two cycles. This year, it's about 50-50. And, you know, you could see that as good or bad, but it's much different. It's much more diminishing returns. And when you're talking about these sums of money and how they almost are canceling themselves out because everyone knows, you know, the story of the races are not sort of what's in those ads, but the fact that those ads are out, who's behind them, how these PACs are trying to hide their support and basically try to deny the public the transparency of knowing who is funding these things. I think that has ended up really reverting back on the candidates who they're trying to support and giving, you know, a lot of help to candidates that on the progressive side of things.
I think that is true. I think there is a lot more of a diverse media diet out there for the average person interested in the primaries now more than ever. Because if you were to only get your information from MS Now or CNN or ABC, CBS, they rarely factor in where the outside expenditure is coming from or what that says about a particular candidate. Whereas people like myself, people like yourself, and also other organizations like AIPAC Tracker, for example, are so on the ball when it comes to identifying exactly where this money is coming from and what that says about the track record and potential future policy agenda of these establishment Democrats, including with like Drop Site News, that will hunt down exactly where these AIPAC shell corporations are coming from. That I think we have a much more educated electorate that is definitely deeply invested in identifying who to vote for and why they mustn't vote for certain candidates. But then I think more importantly, there's a lot of legwork now, unlike ever before, with DSA's ground game that we've seen in both New York City and all these other districts, including in Denver, Colorado, that is able to outcompete the negative attack ads that are coming in. We've seen tremendous success in our phone banking initiatives that we've done in the last couple of days. I believe 500,000 doors have been knocked. I mean, like an insane number.
In that district.
I believe 500,000 or something insane in Denver, Colorado. Like, or is it the phone banking numbers? It could be the phone banking numbers that I'm mixing up. Hold on, let me refer to it before I give fake news. Before I do fake news here. Hold on.
I mean, I think the point you're making as you look that up, it's the difference between organized money and organized people.
Yeah.
So what DSA in particular, but also the Working Families Party and some of these other
500,000 phone calls. Yeah, sorry.
Phone calls. Okay. What I think these groups have been able to do, Justice Dems and et cetera, they've been able to do two things. Number one is they have masked those volunteers that have, you know, those conversations are much more impactful when you're on the doors, you're in front, face to face with someone, you're having a conversation. Those are really, really important things to do for a campaign. And it's simply easier when you have a volunteer force at your back than for some candidate that would have to basically pay volunteers to do that. The second thing that they've done this year that's been unique, and it's Justice Dems, but it's also Working Families, and it's also this thing, American Priorities, that has come in as a counterweight to some of the AIPAC spending. They have been able to at least allow these candidates to hang a little bit on the air, right? So instead of being blown out with 4 million on one side, just to throw a number out, 4 million on one side, nothing on the other, now it's like 4 million to maybe 1.5 million, right? And so at least the message is being countered a little bit in the paid media, on YouTube ads or wherever, so that it's just a little bit of pushback. And they don't have the airwaves all to themselves. And so I think that has been, of us would agree that the best system would be a public financing of campaign system.
Yes.
But if that's not going to happen, you can't tie yourself with two hands behind your back and be, the purity police and then lose all the time. So I think Democrats, progressives and, DSA touch are getting smarter about the idea that we're not going to unilaterally disarm. We're going to fight. And when we win, hopefully we can make a better system in the aftermath, provided we have a different Supreme Court.
Yeah. One of the things that I always go back to, of course, is that the people power doesn't come unless the policies are there. No one is going to get activated for Diana DeGette or Adriana Espaillat. You can have a machine. You can try to turn on that machine, as we saw with Adriana Espaillat, a machine that is directed exclusively to reinforce his power, and it fails, right? Because having having great policies, having a great message overall that centers the working class will not only turn out the door knockers and the people who are motivated to help you out because they want to see that change in Congress, but it also is a good message that you can spread far and wide that will actually draw turnout. The negative campaigning, on the other hand, is only going to depress voter turnout. It's only going to lead to further apathy. And that is a big part of the reason why this is not a problem that I don't think establishment Democrats can actually fight back against by simply making up the enthusiasm gap with a tremendous amount of money, because the message is not there, because the policies are not there, because the advocacy is not there. There's also obviously the structural burden that they carry, that they have to be associated with the last decade or so of incompetence, the last decade or so of all of the policy failures, right? Whether it be losing to Donald Trump, you have to own that. And there is an outsider advantage here.
I agree. And I think as we think about, because, certainly already we're having some of these candidates who are going to move into the government, right? I mean, the ones in New York, Chris Robb and Adam Homowy and Anna Lilly is already there. There's going to be a need to move from opposition to proposition, right? To move to what are you doing? And I think what we're seeing in New York City with the rent freeze passing, with childcare slots opening up, is building an actual vision of what a successful agenda that actually delivers for people looks like. And I think the people going into Congress, obviously it's more difficult in Congress because you have 435 people. You're not just one mayor, but you can point to that and say, this is actually the vision. This is what we can actually build.
Yeah.
And if you give us enough people, we can get that done.
Absolutely. David, before I let you go, because I have to rush over to a canvas with Chris Rapp, actually, for Melat Kiros in a little bit, I wanted to also briefly talk about the birthright situation. The Supreme Court came down on a 5-4 decision, which I think is entirely too close for comfort, with protecting birthright, which is, one of the most safeguarded, one of the most contested, and therefore one of the most safeguarded aspects of the Constitution. and obviously a lot of Republicans are frustrated. Can you elaborate on what took place there?
Well, I mean, this was kind of a moonshot. It played out differently than I think a lot of conservative ideas that get into the bloodstream play out. Normally, they take a very long, slow, deliberate path to get something through the Supreme Court. So earlier this week, the ability for the president to fire any appointed commissioner at the Federal Trade Commission, but really at any agency, except for the Fed, because we don't want to mess with our money. That was the result of a decade of law review articles and, putting things into the media and getting things in symposia at Federalist Society conferences. They spent years and years and years working on that until they had the coalition in place on the court, and then they put it together and they got it. This was Donald Trump sent tweet, right? that was it. Yeah. And then birthright citizenship is up there at the Supreme Court. And there were a couple sort of half-assed articles that a couple professors who kind of debased themselves put together. It wasn't like this long, slow, deliberate process. And yet it got 4 votes, at least on the constitutional issue.
Constitutionality, it's 6-3 technically, but it's
6-3 technically, yes. So if it's that accelerated, that what it tells me is this isn't going to go away. Yeah. That they're going to keep, sort of working this in the courts. They're going to keep putting together arguments to try to convince Kavanaugh, to try to convince Barrett, to try to convince John Roberts, and they're just going to keep at it. And in 10 years, if they still have the same numbers, they'll try again. And so birthright citizenship, while safe for now, is not really safe in the future. If you know about the ways in which conservatives go about getting legal changes basically sanctioned by the Supreme Court. Yeah. So it's very dangerous.
Can you talk about the distinction between because people are confused in the chat. For those of you who might not understand, what is the decision that was 5-4 versus the decision that was 6-3?
So there's the question is, was Trump's executive order ending birthright citizenship legal or not? And the question is legal, if it's legal or illegal, by what means? So there were 5 votes that said it's illegal because of the 14th Amendment of the Constitution, which says all natural born citizens are citizens of the United States. Brett Kavanaugh said, no, that isn't the reason why I think it's illegal. I think it's illegal because there was a statutory decision that was made by Congress later that made birthright citizenship legal. So is that can be changed. A statute can be changed by Congress, and whereas the Constitution would need a constitutional amendment, and that's a much higher bar. So there are really only 5 votes for the constitutional issue here, and that means any one change. So if Republicans win in 2028 and Sonia Sotomayor steps down, there's your one, right? Yeah. Or not even steps down, but if she dies in office, whatever it is. So that's what a knife's edge we're on here. And it's incredible because if you look at the 14th Amendment, the language is clear enough for pretty much everyone in this country to know what it says. Yeah. Except for Clarence Thomas, Neil Gorsuch, and Sam Alito, who I guess retired for a minute here today, but then
that was interesting.
NPR took it back. Yeah,
NPR claimed he was retiring, only to turn back and decide that he wasn't retiring. That was interesting as well. In any case, you can't hide. You're in the camera no matter what.
Yeah, you are in the shot.
As Marge is here, my cam op and producer. We have to head out soon. David Dayen, thank you.
How is it down there? What do you think is going to happen?
It's a beautiful sunny day, 89 degrees. There's an air quality alert, but it's a beautiful day to go out and door knock. It's a beautiful day for Democratic Socialists to win office and win power in this country. And You know, I'm gonna
You're
try
confident.
my very best to keep pushing. But thank you, David Dayen.
All right.
What do you want to shout out? American Prospect?
Yeah, totally. Prospect.org. Check out our print issues. You know, get a piece of paper delivered to your mail. Prospect.org/subscribe. Sign up. We've got a lot of great stuff coming for the rest of the year. Looking at this blue wave, this socialist wave, whatever you want to call it. And we're going to keep every day at prospect.org hammering this and looking at some of these races. Like I said, I got a good one on Michigan's 7th district, Will Lawrence, tomorrow.
And you asked me if I was confident, and my answer is it's never over until it's done. I always feel the same level of vulnerability and stress that I did with Zohran Mamdani's election. That I did with the New York City DSA slate, but that's a healthy feeling to have, I think, and you know, those things have panned out in our direction every single time. So hopefully we'll be able to notch another victory here today.
All right,
bye,
play like you're
David.
10 points down. There you go.
Thank
See ya.
you. Khaki with the khaki.
Welcome back. If it's Tuesday, voters are voting in Colorado. Two of those races could have major implications for the power of progressives in the Democratic Party after establishment Democrats were put on their heels last week in New York's primaries. Democrats are also eyeing Colorado as an opportunity to flip a competitive House seat in the fall. And both parties have candidates fighting it out for a chance to replace the term-limited Governor Jared Polis. Joining me now is NBC News Chief Data Analyst Steve Kornacki, and also with me, Kyle Clark, who's an anchor and political reporter for our Denver affiliate, KUSA. Steve, let's start with you and where things stand in these races. Progressives really hoping to make inroads. In fact, Congresswoman DeGette's district and the Senate primary in particular, what do they need to do to be successful?
Yeah, let's start in that first congressional district there. I think everyone acknowledges that the longtime incumbent here, Diana DeGette, at the very least, is in some serious jeopardy today in this primary. Her main challenger here, coming from the far left, Melat Kiros, backed by the Democratic Socialists of America, running to the left of DeGette, really stressing Israel, criticisms of attacks on Israel, sort of core to her campaign. That is a model that we just saw some insurgent Democratic candidates successfully use in New York congressional districts last week. We've seen it in some other districts around the country. And just demographically, if you're looking at this first district in Colorado, what you're looking at here basically is Denver. It's not all of Denver, but it's a big part of Denver here. That's the core of the district. And I think demographically, you got a lot of, young, college-educated renters, politically progressive types. That's sort of been the mix that has worked for that style of politics elsewhere in the country. So it's another test for it tonight, but certainly on paper, this is the kind of race that if you're DeGette, first elected back in 1996, you're probably sweating a lot in these final hours heading into the vote tabulation. Where there is more suspense, I think, here, just in terms of whether it's going to be competitive, would be this Senate primary. John Hickenlooper, originally elected to the Senate back in 2020, being challenged by a state legislator here, Julie Gonzalez, again, ideologically running a similar campaign here. But the question is not the city of Denver and some other progressive pockets throughout the state, but whether this expands across the entire state here. Obviously, Colorado, we don't have a lot of sort of statewide primaries to measure a candidate like this against, but you do know back in 2020, Bernie Sanders did win a relatively crowded Democratic presidential primary in Colorado. Sanders and Elizabeth Warren, probably the two most leftward candidates back in that primary, got a combined 55% of the vote. Hickenlooper, by the way, in 2020, he was opposed on the left in his primary bid. He got 59% in that primary, won all but one county here. So this is a sort of a mystery. There's only been one poll. We're not even sure what to make of that poll. So this is the question. Will this one get close tonight?
Yeah, and then we also have Colorado's 8th district. That could be a battleground this fall. What are you watching for tonight?
Yeah, so, take a look here. Democratic matchup. We know the Republican is Gabe Evans. He was elected in a very close race back in 2024, and we know it's going to be closely watched this November because, look, this is a district that Donald Trump carried by 2 points in 2024. It's a district that Joe Biden carried by 5 points back in 2020. It is a swing district. You're looking here at the Democratic primary. Most of the suspense here is whether it's a Rutenell or Shannon Byrd here, a state representative, a former state representative. These are the two leading candidates here. And the backdrop, again, not just a super competitive district, a swing district in November. This is also a district with a very large Hispanic population, a lot of population growth in this part of Colorado. You're talking about Adams County into Weld County, city of Greeley, Colorado, Commerce City. A lot of population growth, a lot of Hispanic population growth. It's a population.
Y'all are annoying with this cum spam, bro. Enough. Check out early numbers. The youth are coming out. Reporter Kyle Clark is pointing to an unusual congressional district, Denver, where progressive challenger Melat Kiros is running against longtime incumbent Dayen 121 ballots had already been cast by 1:55 p.m. on election day. That's represented 26.3% of turnout, with several hours of voting still remaining. By early afternoon, turnout had already exceeded the final turnout from the 2024 primary. Oof, only about 25,000 more ballots were needed to match the record 2018 primary turnout of roughly 146,000 voters. Clark says, here come the youths. Colorado is surging. It's 140,000 now. This is old. Fuck, man. That shit torques me up, dude. That shit amps me up. I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to lie to you. Looking good.
That Donald Trump made a lot of inroads with in 2024. One of the reasons he was able to narrowly carry this district. So again, it's going to be close this November, and we'll watch this race particularly to see about those Hispanic inroads the president made in 24, whether they're holding up or receding in 26.
Okay, great, Steve. Thank you so much for that. We appreciate it. Let's turn now to Kyle Clark. Kyle, you've been covering these races for months, and maybe level set for us. Are Colorado Democrats ready for the same type of progressive push that we saw in New York last week?
Denver Democrats are, Ryan, for sure. I think Colorado is a different story. And the thing you have to remember when you look at Denver versus New York City is New York has closed primaries. Colorado has semi-open primaries in which unaffiliated voters, no party, that is the majority of voters in the state, can participate. So that can have an interesting impact on primaries out here. But certainly 29-year incumbent progressive Democrat Dayen is in real trouble against a 29-year-old Democratic Socialist challenger in Melat Kiros, who appears to have caught DeGette napping, nearly kept her off the ballot at the caucuses, and DeGette has been begging for national resources to come in and save her, and Kiros has all the momentum.
Is it about...
It is pretty crazy that the party basically was like, you're on your own. I think part of that is because it's a revenge for the Congressional Black Caucus snub, which is pretty funny because it's like, I'm not going to say it's not valid that we needed new blood. You know what I mean? And I think it's partially because Jeffries gave up, because he was like, I'm not putting more weight and resources into another bygone race. But I think it was partially because of it's partially because of that, and partially because of the CBC drama. Which is crazy because in all of her 30 years, the one time where she was like kind of right, she's getting punished for it. What was the drama? It was over Clyburn, right? Yeah, she wanted to be the whip. Yeah. Dayen DeGette drops out of whip race, clears way for Clyburn, but initially Colorado Rep Dayen DeGette has dropped out of the race for majority whip, leaving South Carolina Clyburn, Jim Clyburn, running unopposed to retain his number 3 position in the Democratic leadership. Yeah, it was literally the exact same thing that is the same galvanizing force behind Melat Kiros is ironically the anger and resentment people feel towards seniority politics, which is literally what Dayen DeGette was complaining about. Explain CBC, please. Congressional Black Caucus. Dayen DeGette wanted to be majority whip instead of Clyburn. And Clyburn did not appreciate that at all and basically put the full weight of the Congressional Black Caucus behind this decision. And they straight up, yeah, see, here it is. Made a run for whip after 2018 midterms, but pissed off the CBC, which wanted and got Clyburn back. If you're a reliable progressive vote, but your voters never see you on their For You page, watch your back. Yeah. Drew Savicki says, this is the most media coverage Dayen DeGette has ever received, and she's been in office nearly 30 years. Now you understand why she's on the ropes. 30 years and completely anonymous. She's only the number 2 House Dem on energy and commerce. She was the number 3 last Congress until Anna Eshoo retired. The committee bottleneck is insane. A 15-term congresswoman has no hope of being a ranking member or chairing a committee. What is this? I'm a Hasan Piker Democrat. What is this? Are you guys making a... Is this the new meta? Okay, I like it. I'm a Hasan Piker Democrat. Hell yeah. Dude, you're going to be in heaven eating that birria as the vote count comes in. That's what I'm looking forward to, my man. Go eat something. I know you're hungry. Man, talking about right now. I already ordered. Yeah, this is a aura moment for sure. That was definitely a aura moment. This is kind of an aura moment too. Where you order from? I need a new taco place in Denver, Colorado. If you don't know about this place, it's too late for you, little bro. Dog, it's birria. Birria, not burria. I don't fucking know. Burria. Burrito. I wasn't a fan of the soccer jersey art, but I miss it now. Don't it always seem to go that you don't know what you got till it's gone? Yep. I'm a cutie Cinderella fascist. Jesus Christ. Federalist CEO with a demented list of demands that the Supreme Court protected birthright citizenship.
J.D. Vance just said in an interview that he thinks you are going to be the leading Democratic candidate for president in 2028. What's your response to that?
I mean,
That's crazy. That's crazy. Why are you cheesing like that? That's crazy. That's actually crazy. You might as well say, yeah, I am. That's crazy, AOC. That is wild. That is what do you... That's all but a confirmation. That's more than a confirmation. I'd trust her word less if she said yes rather than smile like this.
you know, I hope he is. That's what I'll say.
So he's a Republican nominee?
Damn! She walked away too.
Avalanche of results.
All right,
Very
15
quickly
minutes
could bring
remaining.
clarity
15
to
minutes
races
warning
that
until
I know if you're
polls
watching
close
this,
in Denver,
you know the basic
Colorado.
setup. Yeah, a lot of anticipation around, for instance, this race, the 1st Congressional District. Longtime Democratic Congresswoman Dayen being challenged by Melat Kiros, Democratic Socialists of America backed candidate. This is a question here about that energy that fueled DSA-aligned candidates in New York City last week. Is it going to also be apparent
before we
in
even
Denver?
get the first
Also at the
dump.
top of the hour, we're going to start to get numbers from
You
this
got a
race.
hype
Don't know
train?
what
We
to
can't
make
do a
of this
double
one.
carry, dude.
This could be a blowout. John Hickenlooper, former governor, current senator, running for re-election. He could win this thing easily. Or if that energy there, again, that same sort of far left
we're looking
energy
at
that we're
this
talking
Julie
about
Gonzalez
maybe being
one
there
too.
for Kiros in
I
the
wish
first
she,
district that
I
we've
wish
seen in
she
some other
hugged the
primaries
Melat
around the
campaign a
country.
little bit
Is
harder.
there statewide in Colorado? That's what Gonzalez has been trying to tap into. Also, very competitive congressional race in the 8th district. This is a Democratic primary. The winner here,
50% of the votes will be dumped within minutes, and we'll have a pretty decent estimation on where.
Congressional districts this fall. This is a district that Trump won in 24 after losing it in 2020. Large Hispanic population. Trump had made gains with them. And of course, we're looking at the governor's race too.
I'm going to
Here's
deflate like All Might.
incumbent Senator Michael Bennett trying to become
Michael
the governor, running against the
Bennett.
state attorney general Phil Weiser.
Another
and running
sex
to Bennett's
god.
left. And also trying to tap into that frustration we see in polling. The Democratic voters say they have with their
Michael
party's
Bennett.
leadership in Washington. He's been trying to say that Bennett
Michael
is too much of
Bennett,
a
he's gonna
Washington
show you
figure. So
up.
some of the headline races there, again, polls closing at the top of the hour. And just a few feet from me, when they do, helping me crunch down all of the numbers, my ace producer,
Bro,
Adam
if
Navarro.
Melat wins the early vote and they project it before I get there, I'm going to be so pissed because I'm waiting on this goddamn birria tacos. It's crazy.
I'm excited to dig into it.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, I think everybody acknowledges going in, that would include very much DeGette's campaign and her supporters, that she's in real potential trouble here. This is a very close race. There have been some numbers there. And again, just fascinating, again, to see that
I know
dynamic.
you like
We were
the
here
number.
a week ago looking at New York City, and this district, 1st district here, this is basically the city of Denver. It's not all of it, but it's a lot of it. That's basically what this district is. And demographically, you think of what we saw in New York City last week, where those socialist candidates had success, places where you had young voters, where you had renters, where you had college-educated young voters, very politically engaged and progressive. You had a lot of that in this first congressional district. It's overwhelmingly Democratic. It's the core of Denver. So it worked in New York City. We saw it work at that DSA socialist movement, worked in Philadelphia,
Remember, it's
Washington,
35% off 5
Is it going to
gift
happen in Denver?
subs. 4 minutes
That's the
remaining.
question. And like we said,
train.
statewide in the Senate race, we call that one up here. We just don't know what to make of it. Julie Gonzalez was part of the Democratic Socialists of America. She let her membership lapse before this campaign, but has not tried to distance herself from it in a meaningful way. So I think this very much is a similar type of challenge here. We're going to see what the readout is statewide. I want to give you a sense of what to expect because looking at the clock, it's 8:48. It's blank right now. 64 counties are blank. But when 9 o'clock hits, we've had a few states like this. Colorado is basically a mail-in voting
Level
state.
3 hype train complete.
And they've had ballots come in for a long time. And in these states, what they do is they can take the ballots that have been coming in for the last week, the last days, often right up until today, get them ready, get them processed, get them tabulated, and they just report them out right after polls close, right at 9 o'clock. So I'll give you one example here. In 2024, Denver was the first. Denver County, I'm going to pull it up right here. City of Denver, Denver County, they're coterminous. So if I'm saying Denver City, it is Denver County. Okay, it's just the city of Denver here. They were the first. They were the first to report in 2024. They did it at 9:11 p.m. and they reported out 70% of their vote, 10 minutes after polls closed. And again, what did we just say? That first congressional district,
big dumps, big and fast dumps.
Denver. So we may get the vast majority of the vote in that hotly contested first congressional district race.
Please pump
a few minutes after 9 o'clock.
Derby,
we may get
Larry Rhoda needs a cowboy up and debate Toby Derby
there, one way or the other in that race. And of course, other counties, other big counties, it's the same thing. 50% of the vote or more. You get in a batch there. We expect a 90-minute rush, a 90-minute avalanche, I would say, where about 3/4, maybe more of the vote statewide will come in between 9 and 10:30 Eastern. Then it slows down. It really, really tends to slow down. So this is sort of a thing where you're going to get a lot coming at you a few minutes from now. We'll make as much sense of it as we can, maybe enough to call some of these races, maybe enough to call all these races. We may get about 90 minutes in.
He's delirious.
Suddenly that tabulation
Mantis
slows.
Morburn,
And we may not have clarity in any of them. That's always a possibility.
I am a little bit delirious.
There are some other dynamics within that we can talk about, but I just want to get you ready.
W hunger. I got the
again,
W
just
hunger
a few
chat.
minutes from now, those polls are going to close, and this thing's going to
Chat,
start
I'm feeling W hunger.
lighting up like a Christmas
Are you feeling
tree.
it?
But we do have a few minutes. I want to also give you an announcement of what's going to happen when we're done. There it is. Look at this. We did this last week. They had so much fun with it. They wanted to do it again tonight after the results are in. Stick around because I'm going to answer questions from NBC News subscribers.
I'm feeling nervous.
So if you've got a question for me, scan the QR code.
Oh my
There
God,
it
we
is.
can ask
And I'm going to pause
Steve
for a second,
Kornacki questions.
because I know you got to get the phone out. You got to.
This is my fucking
it's gonna take you a
dream.
second, so I'm going to leave it up on the screen there. But
You
scan
sound like
that
you're on
QR code.
0.75 speed.
If you're unable
Okay,
to do
well.
that, you could go to NBCnews.com. You can go to our NBC News app. And what you do there is you subscribe. Just become one of the subscribers.
Of course, I'm a subscriber
Love you
to
for
Steve
it. You can
Kornacki,
submit a
the
question
khaki
then,
man.
and I'm going to answer a few of
The
them
khaki
tonight,
man.
right here on this live stream, as soon as we get all those results that we are talking about. Again, it's
Khaki
gonna come
man,
up
khaki
right
win.
after tonight. So get that QR code scanned, get the questions ready. And I think tonight, what's about to happen could raise some more questions.
Speaking
so
of
maybe just watching
subscribers,
this
you
tonight,
might not
you're
be a
gonna
subscriber to NBC
get some
News,
more
but you can
questions
subscribe to
coming tonight. But again,
HasanAbi.
we are 8 minutes to poll
Happening now,
close.
level 6 hype train at level 10.
And let me just set up
carry
one
the
other
flame
dynamic
twice in
that
one
we're gonna
row,
be
in
looking
one
at.
day,
I'll,
twice.
talk about this a million times between now and whenever we finish up. But in these Democratic primaries,
Don't miss the vibe.
we
Deep.
saw this in
I'm
New York last week.
literally
and We've seen this in
fucking-
some of the others.
I have to eat. I haven't eaten
These,
yet. I'm waiting for my
DSA
food.
type
I'll be there
candidates
soon.
Tend to do better with the late counted ballots. This is especially true in states with large sort of mail-in voting like you have here in Colorado. Think about
Did
that.
you guys like my
that
Carry the
LA
Flame
mayor's
drop
race,
on Fox
where
News, by the way?
What it was the late counted ballots. They were the last ones to come in, and they tended disproportionately to come from younger, politically progressive voters. right? And in that LA mayor's race, remember that slow count of the late arriving ballots
God, where the fuck's
moved
this
Spencer
food, bro?
Pratt
Where
out of
is this
second place, put Nithya Raman into second place, into that runoff. And, you know, so we've seen that dynamic, you know, in other states and other places. And I think we
she
kind
might
of
have been the
expect
local
some
Fox.
version of
That
that
makes
here
sense.
tonight.
That's why she
So
was
it's
so
something
kind.
to keep in mind when we get these initial numbers. Again, could be 50% of the vote, 75% of the vote in some of these counties, especially like Denver County, city of Denver. The best number for a candidate like Hickenlooper, right? It's probably going to be the first number that comes out is probably going to be the best number that DeGette gets all night.
Best number.
And then it's going to get better from there for the progressive candidates. For the progressive candidate, again, I don't think it quite does justice to Kiros and the dynamic here, because DeGette, I think by any conventional metric, is a progressive candidate. But Kiros is running. I mean, she's a far left candidate here. That's, you know, she's a socialist. But anyway, we expect her to do better in the subsequent updates. So keep that in mind. If we get that first initial batch and Kiros is leading DeGette, boy, you don't want to see that if you're DeGette. You want to see some kind of pad with that first update if you're DeGette. And again, to get Denver, you know, means we're going to sort of be off and running in that Senate race. And again, I would expect the earliest numbers to be better for Hickenlooper than what would subsequently
I was going to say, I wonder
if
like big Denver dumps, big Denver numbers by youth turnout. I hope it translates to success for
there's a handful
Julie
of counties
as well,
right here
honestly.
in the immediate Denver metro area. You're talking about Denver itself. You're talking about Arapahoe County. You're talking about Adams County. You're talking about Jefferson County. Boulder would be up here. About 70% of the vote in the statewide Democratic primary is going to come right out of here, okay? And then right up here, this is Larimer County. That's where Fort Collins is, Colorado State University. That's where they say they get 300 days of sunshine a year. That sounds pretty nice. You got Fort Collins and Larimer right here. You got Weld County right here where Greeley is. You probably got about 10% of the vote that's going to come out of those two counties. Then you can go down here, Colorado Springs. This is where El Paso County is. South of there, this would be Pueblo County, with the city of Pueblo. By the way, Pueblo County, large Hispanic population. It's the only county in Colorado that Trump flipped to him, that Trump was able to flip to his side in 2024. Had been Biden 20, Trump flipped Pueblo County with that large Hispanic population in 24. Again, probably about 10% of the vote is going to come out of these two. So 70, 80, 90% of the vote is really going to come out of this right in here. Okay, then you got the Eastern Plains, this are small counties here, very Republican counties. You know, the Western Slope, you have a little bit out here, Mesa County, where Grand Junction is. The other sort of vote center, if you want to call it that, in a Democratic primary is going to be sort of this collection of counties. There's about half a dozen counties, they're ski country counties, right? Telluride, Vail, Crested Butte, places like that. These are, higher income, often retirees, college educate. It's a very Democratic demographic in these ski country towns. These are places where Biden or Harris are getting 65, 70, 75% of the vote. They're small, but again, there's like a half a dozen of them. They're going to add up to probably about 5% of the vote, maybe a little bit less, 4% of the vote in the statewide Democratic primary. So that's kind of it. I mean, the political geography of this is, it's really about a 5-county region right here is more than 2/3 of the vote. And then you add, Colorado Springs, Fort Collins, a little bit, and you're already up to 90. So keep that in mind as this map starts filling in, especially in a Democratic primary. Big chunks of real estate here, not much in the way of votes.
3 minutes. Y'all are being so
close.
annoying with this cum spam.
Am I missing
3 minutes,
anything?
3 minutes.
No,
3 minutes
I don't think
till
so.
polls close.
I mean,
3
I
minutes till
expect
polls
we'll
close,
get those Denver
and then
results,
we get the dubs.
Hopefully quicker than not.
3
and I think
minutes till
we'll be
polls
able to key
close,
in on
ladies
that
and gentlemen.
first,
Get those ballots in.
first
If you're in
district.
line to vote,
and then it's
stay
those
in
statewide
line.
races, and we'll see where vote comes in from these different counties. But from what I've seen online, at least with some of the bigger counties, is they're very structured updates where each county will report at certain times. So hopefully we'll just be able to keep up with it all.
Yeah, Denver, you're saying, was every...
Do you think it's possible that someone can make things worse for a candidate via phone banking? I kind of feel like I was that might have been me today. How is that even possible? You just repeat the lines that are given to you, chatter. Come on.
Again, it's if you saw
That's so funny.
A good comp for this kind of would be California, to be honest. You know, if you remember primary night in California, if you were watching at 11 o'clock, they just, you know, they come in real fast, and you get up to that 2/3, 3/4, 80%, and it slows down. Now, in Colorado, they don't have the mail coming in for days after the election, but they still have a lot of what's happening today. We were looking at 2 minutes till poll closing. You know, we were looking like in Denver today, the last time we checked, they got 40,000 ballots that they had accounted for that came in today. That's people drop. There's a very small number of people actually go to the polls.
2 minutes,
and just
2
vote
minutes, 2 minutes,
kind
2
of the
minutes, 2
old-fashioned
minutes,
way,
2
but a
minutes,
lot
2
of it is
minutes, 2
folks
minutes.
dropping stuff off in drop boxes. They take some of that in during the day. They also do a run at poll close time. Once they bring it back, there's processing involved, and that's where it starts to drag down. And again, especially in Denver, right? Boulder's probably another example. University of Colorado is there. That's where you get those young progressive voters who we have been seeing are the ones who are putting these things in at the very last minute. And that's the stuff that ends up, you know, taking a couple. I mean, look, we had a minute to poll closing here. I got the time here, right? In 24, we got to 90% of the vote counted statewide 2 nights after election night. 2 nights later, 48 hours after poll close, we got to 98% counted. We got to 90% counted. We got to 95 3 nights later. So here we go. In 40 seconds, the polls close. Again, the first update, I think I said it was Denver, right? In 2024, the first update we got, we may have a few minutes after polls close. In the 24 presidential election, it was 9:11 p.m., and Denver just dropped a couple 100,000 votes right away. By 9:20 p.m. in 2024, right? Polls closed 9. By 9:20, we had a quarter of all the vote. Counted, released, tabulated. By 9:30,
Okay,
35%.
bro. Jesus Christ.
9:45, 41, 10 o'clock, half the vote in the first hour. Here we go. New Year's Eve. We need Dick Clark. 3, 2, 1. Polls are closed in Colorado.
It's over.
And now we
fought
await
hard.
which county, which city will report first. I'm going to put this up on the screen because this is the one where we have the biggest chance of instant clarity, okay? First district of Colorado.
Oh, my God.
And again, what you're looking at here is Denver, all right? Diana DeGette, elected back in 1996. She replaced Pat Schroeder. You know, Pat Schroeder, sort of a trailblazing figure in American politics, the feminist movement. Schroeder had been elected in 1972. She briefly ran for president in 1988.
Let's go, Melat. Let's go, Julie.
The first primary. She was a very big figure in American politics. For those, sometimes if younger folks are tuning in, maybe they don't know the name. Older folks, when I say older, I mean like my age, probably do remember her. But it was Pat Schroeder, it was DeGette. That's the last 54 years in this district. And now DeGette being challenged by Melat Kiros. Wanda James, the third candidate, by the way, she is the elected regent for the University of Colorado system, sort of the board that kind of looks over. She's elected within the first congressional district. That's how they elect their regents. So technically, she has won an election in this district. She is seen as sort of, we'll see what the numbers say, but the expectation is that DeGette and Kiros have kind of have separated themselves. But we will see. Adam, you'll shout if anything comes in that's not Denver, right?
Yep.
Again, Denver was the first, and it was 73% of Denver's vote in one batch last time around.
Okay,
so,
we got tacos from
could tell us an awful lot. And again, that was
tacos
9/11, 9/02. So we may have a couple
tacos.
Here. What else can we talk about? I didn't want to give short shrift to it. I won't go over there now, but just north of here, you're looking at the 8th congressional district. The 8th congressional district is the one where Democrats are having their primary tonight. It's a former state lawmaker and a current state lawmaker. They are both from Adams County, which is super fast growing, just north of Denver. Adams County is probably going to make up 3/4 of the vote in that district. Most of the rest of it is going to come from Weld County. That's where Greeley is. This is the 8th district right here. Commerce City. This is Adams County. This is right over the line from Denver. Fast growing, and then the district just goes all the way north up into up into Greeley, up into Weld County. There is a little bit of this district that's in Larimer County. None of the districts in Fort Collins. But again, this is super politically competitive turf. So tonight is about setting up a general election matchup you will be hearing a lot about between now and November. Did you see something?
Holy fuck!
Denver should be reporting shortly.
Julie Gonzalez, 48.
Yeah, it should be coming into this.
When you say those things, I feel they're very knowing, and like there's a.
Yes, I see the report on their website.
Oh,
it should
it's over.
Folks, it's
Melat
coming.
won.
Folks,
if Melat's ahead, it's over.
Oh my goodness,
it's over.
This could be. What do you think it's going to be? To get 30 years in office, Kiros, the socialist challenger, James, the regent, the numbers coming.
It's over.
Momentarily. Again, we think this will be the best. This is probably the best it's going to be for DeGette. Whatever number gets spit out here think of it as it's probably her high watermark. With whatever vote is left, she will probably come down to some degree from whatever she gets in this first report. And with whatever votes left, we would expect, based on how these things have been going, that Kiros would probably go up to some degree from whatever this first number is. If you're DeGette, you do not want to be trailing here. You want to be leading. You want to have a pad. My goodness.
It looks to be about 70% of the vote.
It's 70% of the vote.
Yeah.
It's 70% of the vote, folks.
It just hit for the statewide races.
Okay, here it comes. Here it comes. This is seconds away, folks. Seconds away.
My fucking tacos.
Check in with Hickenlooper. I'll let you know when it's in.
You don't think it's...
It's done. It's over. She won.
I'm going to count to 10, and then we'll go to Hickenlooper. 1.
They'll project it by the time I get there, but it's
3,
over.
4. Oh, I want the moment here. 5, 6, 7.
It's a dub.
Okay. It's in our system.
And it's probably
for
a W for Julie, too.
But it's not in our system for this.
Correct.
Okay.
Oh, if Melat's winning on the first dump, 70% of the vote, it's done.
Okay, that's the...
And Julie's probably going to win, too.
That's the first batch of vote from Denver. And there's Hickenlooper basically tied with Gonzalez. By comparison...
That's 2 for 2, bitch.
Hickenlooper, when he was elected in 2020, he won the primary with 59% of the vote statewide. He got 53 in Denver, right? So, I mean, bare minimum, if you're Hickenlooper using that as a gauge.
It's in.
Here we go, folks. What do we got? Oh, my goodness. Look at this.
It's over.
That is the Denver drop. It's 2/3 of the vote, we think. That's the expected vote. Remember, that number can move a little bit. That's our expectation of how much vote is there. And the challenger, socialist Melat Kiros, leading 30-year incumbent Dayen DeGette by 2.5 points, 2,269 votes. Again, this is the city of Denver that just reported out. And again, our expectation
did it again, bitch.
is what you have here was the earliest vote to come in. It's been coming in by mail. It's been getting dropped off at these Dropbox centers that they have.
The moment of victory.
And the tracking information they have demographically about ballots that have been accepted has been saying that the electorate has been getting younger the closer we get to Election Day. Okay, that's why when I say an expectation that this first batch is going to be the high watermark for DeGette, it's based on that. It's based on the demographic that we think is fueling Kiros being more represented in the late counted votes than in what you're seeing right here. If that is the case, then it's curtains for DeGette. And what we now expect,
Price
and
went
Adam,
up.
check me on this, is that we will not get a Denver update
Price
for some
went
time.
up.
That's right.
Okay. So
price went up.
Take the mental picture, folks. We'll return to it.
Price went up,
I think
motherfucker.
sometime in the next 90 minutes,
yep,
we get our next Denver update. And that's going to be where we get clarity in this race. Because that's the question. We start getting ballots counted that aren't as, that are closer to, that are going to be more in that demographic.
I mean, I hope I didn't pull the trigger too soon, but I'm pretty sure it's fucking.
That next update, does she start expanding the lead? Then it confirms the sense that I'm describing here. If there's a surprise and DeGette's got a chance, you'll see it in that next batch. But that's going to tell us the story. That's if you're Kiros, that's a great start for you. If you're DeGette, that is not. What does this mean for the Senate race? Okay, we showed you this a minute ago, but let's go back out.
Dude, this
now
is
we've
the
got some more
worst.
in
You know
on the
that,
Senate
right,
race.
chatters?
Okay, Hickenlooper, we got a
These
sixth
are the
of the
worst
vote
drops.
in statewide in the Democratic Senate primary, and there's Hickenlooper with a 5-point advantage over Julie Gonzalez. Now, what I want to tell you here is the gauge we're using for how Hickenlooper's doing is when he ran in 2020, he faced a primary, a well-known candidate who ran very much to his left in that primary, okay? Gonzalez is trying to run to the left of Hickenlooper here, a progressive primary opponent for Hickenlooper in 2020. The result was Hickenlooper 59. Andrew Romanoff was the name of the candidate back then. It was 59-41 Hickenlooper, right?
It's good for Julie, too, I think.
In any given county, just as a rough, a rough gauge here, there's a pad for Hickenlooper of about 9 points. Okay, if he lost 9 points from that, it'd be a 50-50 race, right? So I'm going to start going through the counties, and we're going to say what was Hickenlooper's number in 2020. Okay,
I mean,
so
it's not,
take a
it's
look
not
like
official
in
yet.
Weld County. This is a big one. We got 94% of the expected vote. Again, this is where Greeley, Colorado is here. Hickenlooper 59,
It's
Gonzalez
so bomb.
40.
I'm actually
what was the
shocked,
Hickenlooper number
alarmed,
here in
disturbed at how good
2020
this
in the
fucking
primary?
torta and the birria tacos
62.
are.
So it's down 3 for him, but remember we say to pad, give or take. This is a rough. This is rough here, just to give you a sense. But the pad is 9 roughly. It's down 3
Dog,
here
this shit got me
in
fucked up.
Weld County. Much
Oh
bigger.
my God.
Denver, where we
Oh,
started.
Dios mío, Kike.
Again, this is the same thing we just saw in that House race. What was the Hickenlooper number here? It was
we should Uber.
53
We shouldn't take away from
in
them.
2020.
They're
It is 50 right
if they're
now.
here, then yeah.
Now, a
And
lot
they're
more
near,
vote
right?
to come. Saw at least 40,000 votes had come in today, and that update was not at poll close. So it's probably 50,000 votes that came in just today in Denver. And again, if those votes are that very progressive sort of young progressive sort, then you could calculate that Gonzalez would improve with the next update from Denver. So right now, Hickenlooper is 3 points short of where he was in 2020 in Denver. And Denver is 20% of the vote statewide, right, in the Democratic primary. This is as big as it gets. That's okay. That's why we're lingering on Denver here. Hickenlooper, if you're using that 2020 thing, at an absolute bare minimum, 45 is probably as low as he could go in Denver. Okay, he's running at 50 with 2/3 to come, with 2/3 in. Okay, where else do we have here? We got Douglas County. Okay, again, this is in that Denver metro area, part of where we say 70% of the vote going to come out of this area. Hickenlooper running at 62. What was his number in 2020? It was 64. So we've seen him down 3 from his 2020 number in Weld. We see him down 3 from his 2020 number in Denver. And we see him currently down 2 from his 2020 number in Douglas. These are not landslide numbers if you're Hickenlooper, but if you're trying to just survive, these are so far encouraging numbers if you're Hickenlooper. Teller County is tiny, just next to Colorado Springs. We got Broomfield, okay? This is just a city-county coterminus. This is the smallest little piece of the Denver metro area, but we got most of the vote here. And the number for Hickenlooper is 55.5. His 2020 number here was 56 and 92% in. So again, this is smaller as Denver metro goes, but these are all numbers. If you're Hickenlooper, we're getting out here. We could test ski country a little bit. How about we do that? Let's go out to Steamboat Springs. This is where the Steamboat Springs Resort is. This is one of those ski country counties. Again, individually, they're not huge. Cumulatively, they probably add up to about 4% of the vote statewide. This you would think, we're talking about these are the higher income, older Democrats, okay? This you would think is Hickenlooper's wheelhouse.
But I
he's getting
suspect
72. Key question, what was his number in 2020?
There's probably going to be Hickenlooper, Melat, Kiros voters a lot in Denver.
In one of
Big
the ski
population
countries. We
center,
got Vail
and
too,
that's a consequence
We
of
got
our
Eagle
not,
County. This is where Vail is. We got about 2/3 of the vote.
Into
Hickenlooper,
the Kiros
69.
ground game,
What was
the
his
BSA
number in
ground
2020? It was 67. So he's now running north of that number. So we got two ski country counties that, demographically are coming through for him.
I still think she has a shot.
The rest that's sort of on this map right now, these are all just, this is the Eastern Plains. I mean, this is the kind of thing you're going to be looking at, down here. This is a county where Trump made some sizable gains, one of his double-digit gain counties, but this is small in a Democratic primary. So zoom out, Hickenlooper with that advantage, it's double digits with a quarter of the vote in. Key, though, is that we are not seeing him in the big counties, the significant counties where we've got significant vote. You are not seeing the kind of slippage that it would take to endanger Hickenlooper in this primary. That would have to change dramatically, okay? Again, if you're Hickenlooper, a former governor, a United States senator, he briefly ran for president in 2020 against an opponent here who's a state legislator, not have the best funded campaign. These are not overwhelming numbers if you're Hickenlooper by any stretch of the imagination. But again, these are numbers. If you're Hickenlooper and you're trying to survive, so far you are seeing what you want to see. If we have Weld County, I suspect it means we've got some numbers in the 8th congressional district. Okay, so again, the backdrop here, super politically competitive terrain. Okay, Donald Trump carried this by 2 points in 2020. I'll put it up on the screen. Donald Trump carried it by 2 in 2024. In 2020, Joe Biden carried it by 5. What powered Trump to that victory? Hispanic voters. Those big gains he made with Hispanic voters nationally, that's very much the case in this 8th district. It's about 40% Hispanic. It is super fast growing. Now, what we've got here is, there's 3 parts to this district, okay? Adams County is right here. Okay, Greeley, this is Weld County right here where we have vote coming in. And then this is actually the same county. These 2 little slivers are
Is there a reason why we didn't vote for Julie
County, which is where
Gonzalez?
Fort
I mean, I
Collins
wanted her to win, but
the Larimer County portion is like 4%
limited
of the
bandwidth.
vote. So really what you got is about 3/4 of the vote is going to come out of Adams County, where we have no votes yet. Okay, and about 20% is going to come right out of here in Weld County. That's where we do have votes, although we, it's 23% of the whole district, and we got nothing from Larimer. So go into Weld, and you can see Root now there. We got most of the vote there, most of the expected vote. And Root now's lead there is 23 points. Now, here's why that's significant. Not just the fact that that's a 23-point lead for Root now in a pretty good chunk of real estate. This is sort of the disputed territory in the district. Both Byrd and Rootnell are from the Adams County, the Adams County portion of the district, okay? Rootnell, Commerce City, Byrd, Westminster. They're from the Adams County portion of the district. This is neither one's home turf, and Rootnell is up significantly with most of that vote tabulated. So Byrd would need to turn it around. There's a lot of votes down there in Adams County, but they both have political bases down there. A small piece of this. Byrd, by the way, pardon me. I wanted to, and again, the winner going to this super competitive general election would be against Gabe Evans. Gabe Evans was elected in a very close race in 2024. And again, this is one of those you'll just hear a ton about between now and November. If you're Rootnell, that is a very encouraging start. The dynamic in this race was a little interesting here. Byrd
my honest assessment.
The long-standing image in Colorado politics is sort of a centrist figure, bipartisan figure.
People who are running for Senate are still worried about the
until about a year
moniker
ago,
of socialism.
had been sort of running in, occupying a progressive lane, reversed some positions, changed his posture, changed his rhetoric as the opportunity opened in the 8th district, which is, again, super politically competitive in the general election. It's been an interesting dynamic.
We won't know
until
some criticism for
that. But again, you're seeing in Weld County.
Ready to go?
That's a big advantage for him right there. So again, we'll zoom back out to the Senate race here, see if we have some more. Again, a lot of what you're seeing, I know it looks like these look like big, significant pieces of the puzzle, but a lot of what you're seeing are very, very small counties right here. What we're interested in is anything coming out of the immediate Denver metro area. I mean, something like this is Jefferson County right here, right? This would be Adams County, which we're talking about. This would be Arapahoe County. These excuse me, are the big ones that Albert's not. El Paso County down here, where Colorado Springs, we got Pueblo. Okay, here we go. Most of the vote in Pueblo County here, and you can see Hickenlooper running at 61.5. What was his 2020 number here? It was 65. So again, the story is what we've seen elsewhere. This is slippage for Hickenlooper from where he was in 2020, but it's 3 points of slippage. Remember we said he doesn't want to see something around 9 or more, okay? Low single digits. He doesn't want to see high single digits. He can't see double digits. The worst he's seen in terms of slippage so far is low single digits. So again, that continues to be. Pueblo's a big, relatively big puzzle piece here. The news that we're seeing here in these numbers continues to be, if you're Hickenlooper and you're thinking like Al Davis used to with the Raiders, just win, baby. You're seeing what you want to see. The slippage from that 2020 number is just not. So far has not been nearly pronounced
Those late-breaking votes would have to go crazy for Julius going to win. I know.
Nothing new has come in here. I just wanted to show it to you. We want to check into the Colorado governor's primary on the Democratic side. Now this is...
And not only that, but also...
Here is a United States senator who does not
We just got Jefferson County as well.
What he's... Okay. Look at this. Michael Bennet, United States Senator. Phil Weiser, Attorney General. Weiser had been trying to run to Bennett's left here, stressing a lot of progressive issues, but also Weiser had been trying to make an issue of Bennett's longevity in Washington, trying to attach him to a national party that we have seen in our own polling with Democratic voters is not popular at all. And look at this, the numbers that Weiser is getting. Let's just go through this right here. In Denver, wow, I mean, look at this, sort of the,
oh my God.
2/3 of the vote. He's crushing Bennett.
Oh
in Denver.
my God.
Jefferson County, Adam just mentioned, this is a giant piece. This is going to be 10% of the vote, 12% of the vote.
He's getting pounced on.
Weiser with a double-digit lead over
Not
Bennett.
my Bennett.
Most of the vote in. Look at Douglas. These are the big
Not my
population
Michael
centers
Bennett.
here in Democratic primaries. And this is
He
where
ran
Weiser's
for
put up. That's only
president,
5 points here. This is the only Denver Metro County, Douglas, that actually voted for Trump in 2024. It's where Weiser's number is the smallest right now, but he's getting a double-digit number out of Jefferson. That's a huge one.
I mean, Wisner isn't great either, but
as we say out of Denver, Broomfield is small, but it continues the trend.
From what I understand, Wisner is not exactly like a
an advantage.
diehard.
Weld County, though, it's big, but it's
Progressive
smaller
by
in
any-
a Democratic primary than these Denver Metro ones, and the Bennett lead there is only
Phil Weiser is
2
not like a
points.
progressive, but it doesn't even
Pueblo
matter.
County,
It's just like
now there, Bennett's getting a big. That's the first good news for Bennett all night. Now Pueblo it's significant, but it's about 3% statewide, right? We say Denver, where Weiser's up 30 points, is 20% of the vote statewide.
yeah, he's
Pueblo
barely
County,
better.
where Bennett's up
I think it's
27,
crazy that
is
it's like, one
3%
diehard
or
Bennett
so
fan here in
of the vote
Marshalltown. He's gonna be so
statewide
sad.
in this primary. Okay, take a look. We were taking you through the ski country counties, Steamboat Springs. Okay, again, I think you kind of would expect Bennett to be doing a little bit better in these. He is there, not in Eagle County, however. Okay, this is in one of Mesa County. This is the population center of the Western Slope, such as it is. Grand Junction is here, and again, look at that. Even there, Weiser with a 15-point advantage. So wow. Those are, if you're Weiser, you are loving what you're seeing. And if you're Bennett, holy cow. You didn't give up the Senate seat. But got into this race with the benefit of being a senator, supposedly the benefit. And these numbers are suggesting that Weiser was able to turn that around on him. What did that mean in the Senate primary with Jefferson County? Hickenlooper, 15-point advantage here, 57-42. What was the Hickenlooper, right? 60, down 2.5 points off his 2020 number. So it's very consistent with Hickenlooper. He won 59-41 in 2020. In most places we've checked in, he's down a couple points from that, right? And if you extrapolate that and that continues to be the trend, that would still have him, with a, 56, 57% of the vote statewide. We're not seeing anything in these numbers that's at odds with that. Mesa County, where Grand Junction is, right? There we go. Another, sizable place. 62, the Hickenlooper number in 2020, 59.5. Very, very steady pattern for him. What's left here that's sizable, like we say, we're waiting on. I mean, Adams is going to be big. Adams is going to be huge in that congressional race, right? Arapahoe County, again, these two combined,
right,
probably
chat.
a quarter of the vote statewide in this
we're gonna go on
Democratic
a
primary are
short
going to
car
come out
ride.
of those two counties. We're waiting on El Paso County, where Colorado Springs is, in a